Do not attempt to adjust your device screen. We are in control of the broadcast. We control the horizontal. We control the vertical. The time has come. Please stand by for a live transmission from Halloween Daily News. Yes, 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 the time has come. Light up those pumpkins, everybody, because we are live. Let's see who else is awake and alive out there tonight in Haddonfield. Happy Michael Myers Monday, everybody. Welcome to it. If you're new here, my name is Matt. We are Halloween Daily News. And this little shindig of shenanigans you just found yourself in the middle of, in the opening moments of, is what we like to call Michael Myers Monday Live, our weekly gathering, hangout, and general geek out fest with the greatest fans in the entire online community. And of course, celebrating the greatest franchise in all of horror cinema. That brings me to our returning friends. If you're new here, welcome. And to our returning friends, what's up, everybody? Happy Michael Myers Monday. Welcome to it. Here we are. You made it. You made it through another week. You made it through another Monday. And sometimes that's the hardest day of the week for some weeks, sometimes. And like I always say, that is reason to celebrate in and of itself. So, we're here. We're celebrating that we survived. We're celebrating that it's Michael Myers Monday. It's the first Monday in March, what we are calling Michael Myers March. And you are here on a very special evening because we have a special guest, a very special esteemed guest, one of the illustrious few individuals on this planet who have appeared on screen as the character Michael Myers. So I'm very excited to bring ERIK Preston on here in just a couple minutes. It's going to be a fun night. I've got some questions lined up that I'm going to ask him, and then after I get done kind of doing my interview, we're going to go over to the live chat and take some questions from some of you guys. Now, when we get to that point, obviously, members and super chats are going to get priority, but we're going to do the best we can to get to as many of you as we can. We're going to go over last week's poll results, which was favorite kills of Halloween 4, and we'll get Eric's thoughts on that when we do that, and we'll do some shout-outs later on as well. I do have this week's update on the Michael Myers Chia Pet, the Chia Myers. I don't know if we're going to get to it tonight, though. It'll all depend on the way things go and what time it is and how everybody feels. namely myself, once we're done with everything else we've got on the agenda. But I do have it ready. It's queued up if we get to it tonight. If not, no worries. It'll be up on the channel tomorrow morning for you to check out. And I'm sure you're all on the edge of your seat waiting for that as we speak. So again, I want to thank you all for being here and for joining me. You know, we've only ever had a live guest on here one other time, and it was back in 2021. It was the Monday right after Halloween Kills opened, and it was #1 in theaters. It was our friend Carmela McNeil, and she was awesome. And I don't know, it might be time to have her back on here at some point here soon, because I am excited that we are going to be doing more of this. You know, all things willing, and you guys enjoying it. Yeah, if all goes as planned, we're going to do more of this and have more live guests on here. And there'll be still plenty of weeks with just me. Don't worry. but so this is kicking off, like I said, Michael Myers March, and I'm going to go ahead before I bring Eric on. I'm going to go ahead and make an exclusive announcement for you guys, the Triple M Live crew, that next week, the second Monday in March, Michael Myers March celebration continues, because we're going to have a live guest again next week on Monday, March 11th. And who is that guest? Well, I am very excited to officially make the announcement right now that next Monday, Jeffrey Landman will be joining us live on Michael Myers Monday, right here, Monday, March 11th. Jeffrey Landman, of course, played young Billy in the 1989 sequel, Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. So mark your calendars now. Look forward to that. It's going to be fun. And stay tuned for more announcements, because we are just getting going. So what we're going to do is, in just a minute, I'm going to bring Eric on. He's in our virtual waiting room as we speak. So I'm going to check in with him, and we're going to do a little sound check, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to begin our chat and our conversation, and you guys can chat amongst yourselves, and you can start sending in your questions. But again, I would hold them until we get a little bit into the interview, because it's really going to be the second half when I'm really going to turn it over to you guys and start taking questions from you guys. And I can see that who is this? Kiss My Flapjack is just giving a $5 super chat. I gotta love that screen name. Excited for ERIK Preston. He's such a nice guy and a great ambassador for the franchise. Well, I could not have really said it any better. Yeah, Eric, before I bring him on here, I'll just tell you a little bit. As many of you may know, or you should know, I met Eric over the phone for the first time just over 10 years ago, 11 years ago now, back in 2013, for that year's 35th anniversary of the franchise, and it was that year's 25th anniversary of H4. And I interviewed Eric in a written interview. We did it over the phone, and that was published at HalloweenDailyNews.com. You can find a link to it in the description of this video. And then we've just kept in contact over social media and at various conventions over the years. We got to meet in person for the first time a couple of years later at Flashback Weekend. Most recently, Sue and I were able to see Eric and talk to him for just a couple minutes out in Pasadena at the big H45. So, again, a friend of the brand and one of the illustrious few to wear that iconic mask. A version of the iconic mask, of course, young Michael Myers in Halloween 4. So I'm going to bring him in here in just a second, but while I'm checking in with him, you guys check out this pre-recorded video that I have prepared, and then we're going to bring our special guest in. This is going to be fun, guys. And again, if you're new here, thank you. Subscribe. Think about becoming a channel member. It's just $5 a month. As I said, super chats and all that good stuff is enabled once we start taking questions from you guys. So watch this quick little advertisement for about 60 seconds, and I'm going to jump over here and check on Eric, and then we will be back on. Check it out. Hey, everybody, I want to remind you that we have official merch. That's right. Now available in the HDN Spring Store. You can show your love for Halloween every day, all year round, with official Halloween Daily News t-shirts. Many different designs are available, many different styles, colors, all sizes, including the original HDN Classic, our special Triple M Crew design for the Michael Myers Monday regulars out there, and our brand new What Would John Carpenter Do design. All of these are available, like I said, multiple sizes, colors, and styles on t-shirts. And that's not all. We've got other merch available like mugs and stickers and lots of other cool stuff. Check it out now at the merch link in the description of this video. All right, here we go. No, not that screen.
Man, everything's just falling apart.
No, we got it. All right. Here we are. All right, guys. You guys let me know if you can hear everything and there's any sound issues out there. But it is my pleasure to welcome our special guest to Michael Myers Monday Live tonight, Mr. ERIK Preston. ERIK, thank you so much for hanging out with us this evening.
Of course.
As I was telling everybody, the crowd goes wild. They're going wild.
I can't see the chat, so I just assume. I'll just take your word for it.
They are. Trust me. It's going nuts in there right now. I can barely hold the questions back.
Yeah.
But as I was saying, I was flashing the audience back, catching them up a little bit on our history, going back now almost 11 years, believe it or not, since our very first conversation over the phone back in 2013.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me to say that it's been over a decade now. Is it that crazy for you?
You know, time is stupid.
Yeah.
I think everything past 2020 is just like, it just doesn't exist. You know, like I think the last 4 years has just been like one long month. So when you say it's been like, 11 years or 12 years or whatever it was, it seems like it's like, that was like 3 years ago.
That's kind of the way my brain works too sometimes.
Right.
It does.
Now I know we met through virtual in like 2013, right?
Yes.
Was Chicago the first time we met in person, or did we meet were you at H35 or?
No, it was Chicago. Yeah.
Okay.
2015.
Okay.
Yes.
I couldn't remember if I met you before that or not.
Yep, that was the first time our face-to-face meeting was 2015. That was a good little franchise reunion they had going there that year, if you remember. I mean, there was a good lineup that year.
Yeah, that was a great show.
And now the 35th, you were there. Was that your first, or how many of these reunion events have you done? Have you done all of
Um,
them?
no, I did. I started at age 30.
Okay.
I knew about age 25, but I I wasn't doing like I wasn't doing conventions at that time. So I actually thought about going to age 25 as a fan myself,
Yeah,
but I ended up not going. But yeah, I knew about age 25, and then between age 25 and age 30 is when I teamed up with Sean and started making the appearances myself.
I got you. And but yeah, that was 2015 when we did meet in person. Now, I do want to recap a little bit of your experiences with H4, but before we even get into Michael Myers, I know it's Michael Myers Monday Live, and that's what everybody wants to hear. But one thing I didn't talk to you about 11 years ago in that very first phone conversation, and I don't think I've talked to you about privately ever before either, um, that I do try to do whenever I'm lucky enough to have these conversations with anybody now, whether it's a junket interview or one of these, more long form interviews. But you know, we're Halloween every day. It's not just Michael Myers. It's all things Halloween, and so I'm always fascinated with the holiday itself and what it means to you, and especially when I've talked to many people who have worked in horror movies and Halloween movies at a very young age, where most kids, Halloween has one meaning, and then maybe it takes on slightly different meaning, maybe not for you. But can you take us back first of all, like before you were ever in this movie called Halloween 4? Did you look forward to Halloween as a kid? Did you get into it as a kid and celebrate big, you and your family?
Yeah, I don't give you. I'm promise I'm not looking at my phone. I'm turning off my heater. So
That's
like I promise I'm not like texting people or anything like that. It's just, technology allows me to turn my heater off with my telephone.
Hey, if
Um
you got to text people, I'm fine with that.
no, 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 no. I you have my full attention. I just it's getting hot. It's getting hot in here, and I'm not going to take off my clothes. Um no, so Halloween for me was always like I grew up as a horror kid. Watching horror movies as far back as I can remember. I was actually thinking recently there was a video game I used to play as a kid, and I couldn't find it. It was like basically like one of those Coleco arcades, and I actually just found it on eBay. I didn't buy it, but it's called Dracula. It was just called Dracula's Castle or Dracula or something like that. And I couldn't remember what it was for the longest time because I'm just like I know it was like a red screen because it was like 1985. Um, I remember there was bats and Dracula was somehow involved with this. Um, but I say that because it all leads into like Halloween, right? Like
Yeah.
like horror in general. Like I was playing video games that were horror based. I was writing stories. I actually found short stories that I wrote in first grade, first or second grade, where my short stories were Halloween related. They were actually like haunted house related. So again, as far as I can remember, like Halloween wasn't just like, oh, it's coming around. Like horror has always been in my blood, essentially. So Halloween was just a day of the year that I could celebrate that. And as today kids don't go trick-or-treating at night. They go trick-or-treating in the day.
Yeah.
And when I grew up, we weren't even allowed to go out until it started getting dark. And so I remember
Mm.
like we had to get like glow sticks or we get like flashlights that had like they had like a pumpkin head, like a pumpkin face on it. So when you shined it, it would like project a
Oh yeah.
jack-o'-lantern.
Hmm.
And then obviously you'd see like jack-o'-lanterns around around the streets and the Halloween specials that were always on, like Grinch Who Stole Halloween was a special, and
Yeah.
Garfield, and but that was like a month of like it's my time. It's like not only do I celebrate that like horror throughout the year, but it's like now it's on. Like it's October, now it's on.
Yeah.
So even before I did the movie, yeah, Halloween as a holiday was always like my thing.
That was always your thing, and like you said, you were a horror kid growing
Hmm.
up, even before getting into this. And
Yes.
I went back over and I read our 2013 interview, um, and I maybe I'll compare some of your answers later on if we want to or something. That'd be so. But
Up to you.
um, but I was just because I asked you then how familiar you were with the character when you got the role, and you described and tell me if this is wrong, but what you said then was essentially that you kind of were aware of the mask and of that he was a horror guy, but you didn't really know him by name. That you knew Freddy by name more because he was kind of bigger at that moment. This was Michael's big comeback, of course. He'd been kind of dormant in cinema for a lot of years after H2. So is
Yeah,
that right?
yeah. Yeah, that's correct. So, I didn't know the movie by name. And so when I got the audition for Halloween, my mom's like, "You have an audition for the new Halloween movie." And I remember like telling her, I'm like, "I don't know what this is." And she's like, "Yes, you do. You know what this is." I'm like, "No, I don't know what." She's like, "You know what this movie is?" I'm like, "No, I don't. I really don't." And then I remember her saying like, "It's the guy in the white mask." And I was like, "Oh, okay. I know that." And the movie, thinking back, like Halloween 2 was the one that I really knew, right? Because I remember like the hospital scenes and just being locked in that confined space. Um, that was my connection to it. Like I'm sure I saw Halloween before, like at that time, I'm sure I had already seen Halloween, but like when I got Halloween 4 as an audition and my mom was like, "It's the guy in the white mask." My instant connection to it was, oh, the guy in the white mask, but like thinking about him like walking down the hospital hallways and stuff like that.
From H2, of course, yeah.
Yes.
Um, I gotcha. And how old were you at this time?
I was 8 when I auditioned for it, and then I was
And
9 when it came out.
and you had been doing some acting in commercials before then, is that right?
Correct. Yeah. So I was a local actor up in Salt Lake. So there was a grocery store out there, and they don't exist anymore. I think Albertsons might have bought them out, but there's a grocery store out there called Skaggs Alpha Beta. And I was doing commercials for them, like 2 or 3 of them, not that many. Like it's not like I
Mhm.
was like, making a living off of it. I have, 5. But yeah, that's what I was doing prior to the Halloween audition coming through. So my sister was a dancer, my sister was doing plays, and I was doing commercials.
Gotcha. And so then you get the audition, and maybe you can just walk us through that again. I read the email, so I flashed back, but for anybody that hasn't read that interview, which is up on the site, and again I linked it, but can you kind of recap a little bit of what it was like going through that and then getting the role and um
Yeah, so first understand I'm looking at this through like 35, 36 years ago in the past,
yeah.
right? So what I remember is I got the audition notice on like a Thursday. And then that weekend I had to study the lines. Now my mom at the time was fighting cancer. So she was in the hospital that weekend. So I was at my mom's friend's house that weekend learning my lines. And then from what I remember, like the audition was like that Monday. And so we had to go down to a hotel that was in Salt Lake. Red Lion, I think is what it was. It doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter, right? Um, but the casting was in a suite, and then they had like the room across the hall, and that's where we all like the green room essentially, where we would just wait. Then they pulled me in, and there was 3 people behind a table. I assumed Dwight was one of them. Casting director Dwight, and
Mhm.
I don't know, maybe Alan. I have no idea. You do your lines, and then I want to say it was like as soon as like Wednesday, I got the call with them saying, "Hey, they liked him, but they don't think he's right for the part he auditioned for. They think he'd be better as young Michael." And for those that might not know,
Yeah.
Bruce, my cat is meowing at me, by the way. Um, for those of you that might not know, I auditioned for the Frankenstein kid in the school scene, like when they were like making fun of Jamie, and they're like, "Oh, you Jamie's mommy's a mummy." Like that's what I
Yeah.
auditioned for. And from what I remember, and I wish I kept the sides, but like keeping sides wasn't like a thing. Like you didn't think about that back then, especially for, Halloween.
Right.
But from what I remember, my side said Lindsay, not Jamie.
Hmm. Okay.
And I know that like the first draft of the scripts had her name as like Brittany or Britty or something like that. But
Okay.
I'm like 95% sure that my audition side said Lindsay.
Hmm.
And again, I wish I had them so I could be like, look, guys,
Yeah.
look at these cool sides, but I don't have them.
That's interesting. That it was Lindsay and that. Interesting.
Yeah.
So you auditioned, like you said, it was going to be for one of the bullies, kind of, the bully
Yes.
characters, kind of referencing the Tommy Doyle bully scene with Jamie, and so then when did you learn, or you said you learned pretty quickly that they wanted you for young Michael?
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, I think it was literally by Wednesday, but
Yeah.
again, the filter of 35, it could have been like 2 months later, but I don't think it was. I think it was
Right.
pretty much like I auditioned Monday and got the call on Wednesday. And by I got the call, I mean my parents got the call, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
my parents had the conversation with my agent, and again, my parents knew what Halloween was. They knew who Michael Myers was, so they knew what they were like getting me into. I know, like I've had a lot of people ask me, like, did your parents know what you were doing? I'm like, yeah, yeah, like
Yeah.
one, they tell them it's a rated R movie when you audition, so it's not like it's a surprise.
Yeah.
Um, and two, again, my parents totally knew like what Halloween was. They knew what Nightmare on Elm Street was. Like they knew what all those horror movies were. So when they found out that I was going to be playing young Michael, you know what I mean? Like they understood what that was.
Yeah.
I think probably more than I did,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah. Well, and then again, they would recognize that. Oh yeah, this is a big deal. I mean, obviously, if they're taking you to these auditions and they're supporting your acting, then yeah, they would see that even if it's just that split second of a scene, it's young Michael. It's this iconic character that. And again, people forget that at that time, prior to H4, Michael had been, like I said, kind of dormant for all those years, and
Right.
and the last kind of theatrical outing was Season of the Witch, and so it was this time. I mean, when that movie came out, it was just Michael's back.
Hmm.
It was a big deal. So, I'm sure that was pretty cool for them to because you said that I think you said in our original conversation that they're kind of horror fans too, right?
No.
Oh, they're
No. I
not.
mean,
Okay.
no, 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 no. They allowed me to watch horror movies.
Okay, I think that's what you said. That
Yeah,
they
yeah, yeah. They allowed me to watch, like they never like
were
I don't
into it.
recall them ever being like, "Hey, the new Friday the 13th movie." I do remember that like when Jason Takes Manhattan came out, my mom would not take me, and not because I was too young, but because she didn't want to see that
She
stupid
just
movie.
she just wasn't into it. I
Yeah,
got it.
so but she would take me and my sister to go see like the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, right? So like when
Yeah.
Freddy's Dead was out or Nightmare on Elm Street 5, we'd be like, we want to go see, and she'd be like, okay, let's go. Like, so she would take us, but no, she wasn't excited about it. She did it because we enjoyed it.
Right. Right. So they were cool. That's I think what I read in there that you had said that yeah they were cool enough to let you see some of these movies that some parents may not have, but it wasn't their taste.
No, I mean, and yeah, like I said, I grew up on horror movies and rated R
Yeah.
movies. Like they took me to Jaws 4 and RoboCop when I saw RoboCop opening weekend. Uh,
Nice. Nice.
so watch it, like seeing rated R movies was not like taboo in my house. Like that was you know I'm sure a lot of people might judge my parents for that. I don't know. I don't I think it comes down to like the individual, honestly, rather than like censoring everybody. But
Yeah.
you know. But they were on board
Now.
with it. They let me they let me watch. Like, I mean, obviously, I wasn't watching a porn or anything like that, but
Right. Now, when you did realize that you weren't going to play the Frankenstein kid, but you were going to play young Michael, and your
hmm.
mom said it's the guy in the white mask, and you were like, oh, okay. Do you remember feeling like excited at that point that it was specifically this character rather than the original one, or were you
Not,
just
no, I mean,
yeah,
not really. At that time, because again, like you don't. It's easy to like look back in hindsight, and be like, well, how did you not know, right? But you got to understand, like
yeah,
Halloween wasn't huge at that time, right?
right,
Halloween 3 was
mm-hmm.
ultimately what brought Michael Myers back was the fans' reaction to Halloween 3. And at that time, like what was dominating pop culture was again Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th. Friday the
Yeah,
13th was every single year they were popping out a new movie.
that's true.
So you and again, like my sister did plays, I did commercials, so like it was a part, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it wasn't until one when I started filming that it started to like be like, oh, this is cool. And it was mainly because they let me hold a real knife, right? Like they put a real knife on me and they put,
Wow,
and blood.
no
But even
prop knife.
before,
That's cool.
yeah, I mean, well, it was a real knife for the
Yeah.
for that scene. Like there's a table that had the fake knife and the real
Mm-hmm.
knife, but it's like I'm not doing anything other than holding it, so it doesn't make any sense to make me hold a plastic knife.
Yeah.
But even before that, like when I was shooting the week before, you started to get like a more of a sense of like what it was, right? Um seeing like Michael on like you would see Michael on set and like parents would be like, oh, like you started to get the idea. And then like when kids were like when we were doing the bus scene, I remember like we were doing the bus scene, and at one point they were like, "Who's gonna play the paper boy?" And they looked at me because I guess there's a paper boy in that beginning scene, and I'm like, "Not me." And like at first I was like, "Wait, what? No!" Like, and I was like worried that they were like taking the part away from me. Like they were like, "Oh, you're gonna play the paper boy now."
Right.
And I was like, "Well, no, 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 wait, no." But like when I got the initial call, it was just like, okay, like you know, it's just a part at that point.
Yeah. Now, but you were in some other scenes as some of the other kids too,
Yes.
like two other scenes, right?
Technically three, but yes.
Oh man.
Well, I
So
say technically three because the shoebox scene, right? So the
yeah,
shoebox,
okay,
yeah.
right, yeah, the
So
shoebox.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
if you
there's
want to just walk us through your what you
yeah,
remember from shooting.
yeah. So the first thing the first thing I shot was, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this was day one of shooting.
Hmm.
It's the very beginning where they're shooting the exterior of Rachel's house. And it's Halloween morning. You see like the bus drive down. And you see a bunch of kids chasing after the bus,
Hmm.
and I'm one of those kids. And essentially, our instructions were when the bus goes, chase after it. And we did that for I don't know how long, like an hour
Hmm.
or two, like because we're doing it in the morning. So like once the sun starts coming up, you can't, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I chased after the bus handful of times, three, four, five, maybe, but I couldn't tell you how long I was on set for that because again, like we're racing against the sun, you know.
Hmm.
And then after that, they put me in the transpo van and drove me around the corner, and that's when they put me in the clown costume and had me take photos for the shoebox scene. And
Right.
what I'm glad I didn't make it in, but there was a girl that they brought as well, and I had to take photos with her with like my arm around her and stuff. And I'm assuming that was supposed to be baby Lori,
Okay. Yeah.
but it wouldn't have made sense because she was like 6. So like the age doesn't make sense. Like
Hmm.
um like as you get older and you watch the movies and you start to understand like the timelines and stuff, you're like, oh, I'm glad that didn't make it in the shoebox because that's the only thing I can assume. Because it's not
Yeah.
like at 6 years old you have a girlfriend that you're putting your arm around. Because I had to like
Right.
literally put my arm around her and act like I liked her.
I
Um
gotcha.
Bruce. Um And then the second day, which was a day or two later, we shot the deleted scene, which I've talked about. If you guys don't know, there was a deleted scene. I wasn't in it. I just had to be there because we caravanned. It was a scene with Jamie and Rachel eating ice cream, and they're walking down the street. And again, from my 35-year-old recollection, the conversation was like why she gets bullied at school or why she doesn't like Halloween, doesn't want to dress up or something like that. But they're eating ice cream, so I'm assuming it takes place after the costume shop because they're going to go to the costume shop and then 2 scoops, right?
Right.
Um, but they're walking home, so they're not, they're not driving with Lindsay who dropped them off
Mm-hmm.
or whoever it was. Um, and in that scene, so they came down the street this way, and then it was on a corner, and then they turn and they go that way and exit out of frame. And the corner house had like a bedroom window on the second level. And it wasn't until the final shot that the parents started making noise and like, oh, look up there. And I looked up in the window and I think Michael was there, like looking down at them.
Yeah.
But I didn't like they didn't bring that attention to me until like the end of the shot. And so there was somebody moving around up there for sure, looking out the window.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine it was a homeowner because
Yeah.
if you allowed the homeowner be there, they'd be ruining shots. So the only thing that makes sense is that I did indeed see Tom as Michael up there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but again, I quickly saw something move out of the window, and that was the final shot. So I didn't get to watch up there and pay attention. Be like, oh, are they going to do it again? Like it was just like, oh, somebody's exiting. I think that was the killer. But I can't say for sure on that. But it's the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think that scene's in the novel. So if you've read the Halloween 4, like it might be in the novel, maybe it talks about it in there. And I know Kathleen was selling like the first draft scripts at H45 that had the Brittany character listed.
Oh yeah.
But that scene might be in there too. So if anybody has like that, and you can probably pull it up on the internet, you might be able to see if it says anything about Michael being up in the window or what that conversation was about when they're eating the ice cream. But
Right.
from what I remember, it was her talking about her being bullied or why she doesn't like Halloween or something like that. Like it wasn't, oh, I'm doing good in school. It was
Yeah.
there was a conversation that was being had at that point. But then the third day, which was about a week later, is when we shot the costume scene. Oh, wait.
Okay.
And then after the deleted scene, that afternoon is when we went to the exterior of Vincent's and we shot the exterior of Vincent's. And so I'm also one of the kids walking in front of Vincent's. And then a week later, we went to the pharmacy and shot the interior costume.
Okay.
So we didn't shoot that at Vincent's. We shot the interior at a different location.
I gotcha. Okay. So they were all spaced out, but it was the three different days, and yeah, that's what I remember you saying, that you were in the other scenes of the kids running after the bus and then out in front of Vincent. So technically 3 different characters I think you played here. If those other 2 kids are to be taken as separate kids, that I don't know. Has anybody else played 3 different? I know a lot of people played 2 characters in this franchise.
I mean, but who's to say that the kid in front of Vincent isn't the same kid that was chasing after the bus?
Well, that's true. That's what I was saying. Assuming that's 2 different kids. That could be. You're right. That could be taken as the same one. But I don't know. You might want to claim that it's 2.
Yeah. So I played 3
kids.
I played 3 characters in Halloween.
That's
Nobody else has done that.
That's what I'm saying.
The only person who's runner up to that is Danielle, who's played 2 different characters. So
right, yeah, I don't think anybody else can claim 3, much less 3 in the same movie. I mean, I don't think so.
I'm just that versatile.
Yeah. Well, they definitely got their money's worth out of you, I think too.
Right. Yeah.
Saying, hey, this kid, we can use him for a couple other characters, a couple other trick or treaters,
right?
In addition to young Michael.
But see, I didn't get to be in the see that. I wish they would have let me be in the trick or treat scenes too, as one of the kids in the background at I can't remember the name of that park in downtown Salt Lake over by the Avs where they're like where Earl gets shot, right? Or
yeah, they should have.
But yeah, I'm gonna have to talk to Dwight about Dwight. Why didn't you bring me back for the 4th day?
I know, I know. I'm surprised they didn't actually. I mean, I
Maybe they're
mean,
like, man, we're tired of this kid. He's kind of a pain in the ass. Let's not bring him back.
no, I can't imagine that. I mean, it sounds like they liked you if they were bringing you back that much for the other ones.
Yeah, I
They
don't
liked you
know.
enough to make you young Michael after the audition. It sounds like. So, again, as a horror kid growing up,
Hmm.
and I don't think I asked you this before. Do you remember the first time you watched Halloween 4? Like from beginning
Oh,
to
Halloween
end?
4. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, Halloween 4. Like your Halloween 4, like the first time you actually watched it
yeah.
from beginning to end. Do you remember that viewing and what your thoughts
Yeah,
were at that point?
I saw it in the theater.
Okay.
Yeah, so I saw it in the theater with my friend and his mom took us. And it was like the week after. I didn't see opening weekend. I saw it like a week or two after it opened. And you're engaged in the movie, and then your part shows up, and you're no longer engaged in the movie,
Yeah.
right? So I started laughing like when the costume scene happens and it's a close up of me, I started laughing because it's me,
Yeah.
right? And the people in front of me got mad at me and told me that they're like, shh, but they didn't know why I was laughing. They just thought it was like some 8-year-old, 9-year-old kid that was just being immature and laughing at the movie.
Right. That's hilarious. This intense scene and they're getting upset and they have no idea who they're shushing behind them.
Right, right.
That's great.
Maybe
So
they're in the chat right now. Maybe they're like, hey, that was me.
if you are, please let us know. I was there. I was at that screening. Um, so after watching the movie though, and yeah, you said you're disengaged once you see yourself in it. Were you able to get back re-engaged? And what did you think, just being the horror kid that you were, just of the movie itself?
I mean, I liked it. I
Yeah,
liked it. There's a lot of things going on in that movie that as an 8 and 9-year-old kid, you're not connecting the dots,
yeah,
right? So like, I'm not connecting why I'm in the mirror,
yeah,
for instance. I'm not understanding why Michael is there, but he's not,
right,
right? Like when he's like grabs her from underneath like the bed, for instance, right? Like
yeah,
while she's had like I'm not putting these together as an 8-year-old kid, but as a horror movie entertaining an 8-year-old kid, I'm enjoying it. It's scary.
yeah,
People are being unalived, right? I mean, it's what you want out of a horror movie. It's what you expect out of a horror movie.
hmm
And again, when you're 8, 9 years old, like it's not any deeper than that. Like that's
yeah,
that's what it is. Um, so yeah, yeah, I as soon as my scene was over, and that was the last scene that I was in, right? Other than like later when they pulled out the shoebox,
right,
but that wasn't the same. It was just like, oh yeah, I forgot about that, you know. But after the costume scene, I had already known my scenes that it had gone, right? Because beginning and then the exterior of Vincent's and then the costume, the clown costume itself. So at that point, it's just like, well, I'm not going to be in this anymore. Now I can just watch it.
hmm And I think another thing especially of like our generation that were of a young age. I wasn't as young as you at that time, but I do think, and it was more a subconscious thing, but having Danielle at the age she was, and I don't think we saw that in the Freddy and Jason movies, where it was always teenagers and high schoolers, and this was kind of the first time I think that a lot of us, anyway, of our generation saw somebody that young really be kind of the main one in peril. And I think that too probably is part of why that H4 specifically made such an impression on the generation that it did, that was of a certain age when it came out too.
Yeah, I mean, probably. I think so. I think there's definitely truth to that. The other film that I would say that it was similar would be Child's Play, right?
Yeah. And that
But
was that the
but
same year, or
I think so. I
I
think it was
think it might have
88.
been, yeah.
But Andy wasn't pursued the entire film
Right.
like Jamie was, right? It wasn't until the end that Andy was in real danger
Yeah.
in Child's Play. Whereas in Halloween 4, it was Jamie is being stalked pretty much the entire time.
Yeah. And you're right. You're right. That is another one where it's somebody of that age, and I think that did come out in '88 too, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sure somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, but
Yeah, 88 or 89. I know it was around the same time.
and but and again, not to not to play favorites or anything, but you know, Chucky. I mean, he's a killer doll, but Michael's this grown man, pure evil, survived fire somehow, and chasing this little
Right.
girl. There's just something extra terrifying, I think, about that, and just the fact that Halloween went there at a time in the late '80s where you know a lot of films weren't really doing that. I feel like
And before I forget,
yes,
when you have Jeffrey Landman on next week,
yes,
ask him about his connection to Child's Play
okay,
because he has one.
oh, excellent, all right. I don't think I've ever talked to him about Child's Play, so okay, yeah, I definitely will.
Yeah. Yeah, he has a
Excellent,
connection to it, and he'll tell you what it is if you bring it up.
awesome, awesome. I'll definitely bring it up next week. That's going to be great. So the film comes out, you know, it's a huge hit, and you know Michael's back, and now he's never really gone away ever since. Again, he's you know he might go away temporarily every now and then for roughly a decade or so, but you know everybody he keeps coming back. Everybody has their entry point. They like around 10-year intervals in the franchise. It seems like a lot of times. And you know you realize that you're part of this now. Um, like you said, it was the 30th. You said was or the 35th was the first one you went to, or the
No,
30th.
30th was the first reunion.
Okay,
So I
that was
did,
the first one
yeah.
you attended.
Yeah, so I did a convention the year before that, like right before Zombies came out. I got
Okay,
booked on my very first convention was a year earlier. But yeah, as far as the reunion shows go, H30 was my first, which the poster is right there.
and that was back in '08. So what was that experience like for you? Because again, I mean, you were just kind of just getting into the convention scene, I imagine, at that time, and even the convention scene itself at that time was not what the convention scene today is by
No,
any
not at
means.
all.
Um,
Um, so as far as like experiences go, like the first convention, Monster Mania is the first convention I did back in New Jersey. And that one was it was just weird. Like because I didn't know what to expect, right? So it was not like weird like oh these it was just weird because it's just like 19 years after I did this movie, I'm now sitting at a table next to George,
mhm,
next to Dag. Danielle is right there.
yeah,
Um Brad Laurie was there, Hannah Hall was there. And it was yeah, it was just weird in the sense is it's like where am I right now? Like what is this? You know,
yeah,
like how is it 19 years after I did this thing all of a sudden
mhm,
I'm here, right? Like it's weird to explain. So when I say it was weird, like I'm not talking about like the fans, nothing like that. It was just bizarre because it's so just like it felt like it was just like so out of nowhere
mhm,
when all of that happened. So by the time I did H30, like I already had that first convention experience.
mhm,
Where Will Sandin's first convention was H30. And I remember talking to him before the show, and I was just like, enjoy it, man. Like, you know, like, because it's same thing with him. His was 40, you know, his was 29 years earlier, you know,
mhm,
30 years earlier, actually, you know, at that point.
yeah,
And I imagine he probably had the same experience where he's just like, I did this thing 30 years ago. Like, like, what's going on? Like, why am I here?
yeah,
You know?
yeah. And I guess now speaking of that of Will, I'll pull up this photo that I got of you guys. This is from Flashback in 2015. And let me pull that up so everybody can see it on screen. And yeah, this is you with Will Sandin.
Okay.
Um, back in 2015 at Flashback. Both of you guys were seasoned uh, convention veterans at this point. I feel like you guys were pretty naturals at it. Sue and I were much newer to the convention scene at this point than you guys, but you know, I was thinking about it. You know, you're one of this illustrious fraternity of Michael Myers actors, but then there's this even smaller group of specifically the young Michael, the clowns. You know, the young Michael actors,
Right.
and I think there's six, or if we count Gary from Resurrection's deleted scenes, I think seven is. I mean, because there's Will, and then Adam from H2, and then
And then
you,
me, then Dag. That's
and
4.
Dag, and but then from
Oh, then
Rob's
Chase.
H2,
And then you
there's
got
Chase,
Chase.
and
And
then
then you
we've
got
got
Gary.
in Kills, there's a young man. I think his name is Christian Michael Pate, and
Okay.
I know Sean was trying to find him for 45, and he wasn't a guest, so I don't know. I think he's one of the, you know, we need to find him and
Yeah,
get him as in part of this. But he does appear, you know, in that scene in Kills, up in the window, you
right.
know, and so he's part of that now. And then, like I said, there's Gary from Resurrection who uh, didn't appear on screen, but he is, you know, kind of an honorary member of that crew. I think, you know, he didn't have
Yeah,
the
yeah.
clown makeup, but he's in the deleted scenes and
Yeah, I mean, he
everything.
filmed. I don't see any reason
Yeah,
that you would. He filmed. You
he
know what I
filmed,
mean?
and yeah, he played the character on screen in one of these films. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
um,
I mean, he's definitely part of it. He's definitely part of the Michael Myers family for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. So just one of seven that, including him, that have played young Michael. This young version. I mean, that's got to be. I mean, it's wild to me to think about, you know, because I've been lucky enough to meet a lot of you guys and to have these conversations and just to geek out on my own and get my autographs and everything. And you know, you grow up watching these movies and seeing this killer and the posters and the magazines, and then you guys are all, you know, you're down to earth people. I mean, in my experience, and I don't know. Does it feel surreal to you still when you do these things, or is it just part of your life now?
I don't know. Um, because it's surreal. Like when you think about it, it's surreal for sure, right? Because like when first started doing conventions, it was surreal. Because again, like I said, it just came out of nowhere. It's just like, you know, like, and why does anybody care about
Right.
me, right? Like Danielle and stuff I get, but I'm on scene for 3 seconds. Like, why does anybody care? Um, I think you kind of like it becomes normal, right? Like, oh, you're doing a convention this weekend, or
Mm.
it's not like
Yeah.
that. It's more like, hey, you got a convention in 5 months. It's kind of how it works. Okay, great. Um, but then when you think about it, like when you take yourself out of that normal thinking and you sit back and think about it, you're like, okay, this is a giant thing, right? Like people are getting this character tattooed on themselves, right? Like there are people that are flying over from different parts of the world, Australia and Japan and Europe and Brazil and all over the world to come to either a reunion show or just a convention in general. And when you think about that, it becomes surreal again
Yeah.
because it's like this thing is so much bigger than I think I can ever comprehend.
Yeah. We were lucky enough to go to H40 in 2018, and then H45, and those are the two reunion events that we've attended. And yeah, we were just blown away both times with, you know, just, I mean, I just don't even know how to describe it. I mean, a lot of our audience were there, and so they know that it's more than words for us, I think. Um, how was your H45 though? You know, now you're somewhat of a veteran of these franchise reunion events. How did this one stack up for you? What were some of the highlights just from your point of view?
Um, it was busy for
Yeah.
sure. You know, part of like what I like about the reunion shows is one, you get to meet a bunch of fans, right? Like, when people come to my table, I'm not expecting them to buy anything from me. Like I've had many fans that just come to me and they're like, I don't have any money. I'm like, that's fine. Like, let's talk. Like if I don't have, if I don't have a line, let's talk. If they're like, hey, can we just get a picture? Yeah, of course. Right? Let's talk. Where are you guys from? Tell me, like, oh, you're from, wherever. Brazil. What's it like over there? But also it's like a mini reunion, like it's like a miniature family reunion, right?
Yeah.
One of the things when I first started doing conventions, I wasn't sure like how I would be accepted amongst the other actors, right? Because they've been doing these conventions, they know each other, like, and then I came out of like nowhere, right? 19 years later. And again, it was very much like I'm in this for 3 seconds. Why does anybody care? Like like going back to 2007, why does anybody care? And so because I was unsure of like how fans were going to react to me,
Hmm.
and the fact that you've got all of these actors that have known each other for years that have
Yeah.
worked together more than just 3 seconds, more than a half a day, like Danielle and I did. Um, I guess a full day. Um, but then everybody's just welcoming, right? And then it's just like, oh no, like, hey, you did this movie 19 years ago. That's great. Welcome to the family, essentially, right? And
Hmm.
that's how it's been with pretty much every single person. And so when I go to conventions and there's somebody new, um, I welcome them to the family. Like I'll go out
Yeah.
of my way and be like, welcome to the family. Like you know, we are all connected at this point. Like we're all family now. We're all friends. We're all like cousins at this point.
Hmm. Well, I love hearing that, and that you go out of your way to kind of pay it forward in a way, and the love that acceptance and welcoming that you felt when you had anxiety in the beginning. You're kind of doing your part to welcome the new blood in.
Yeah, and I don't want to make it sound like I'm like, oh, I'm doing them a favor by welcome. Like, but it's just like I'm just like, no, I'm just gonna go.
Yeah,
Hey, I'm Eric. I was in this movie. Good to meet you.
yeah,
Welcome to the family. Hope to do more with you.
yeah.
You know.
And in my experience, is many of the franchise alums that I've gotten to meet. Yeah, I mean, everybody seems so humble and cool. When we meet them, and yeah, I mean, I've been very pleasantly surprised with many of the cast members, just how cool and down to earth they are, and just nice people.
Yeah, like I have no complaints about anybody that I've met. Like everybody has been, they've been great.
And the same is also with the fans, because I mean, we live in this era of online fandom, which is really something else if you ask me. And but then you go to something like H45, and there's none of that. Like, I didn't feel any of that, like, online hostility that you feel in certain fandoms, and this one's no exception, depending on where you're looking, what social. But a lot of that's just, it's social media. It's like
Yeah, I
none
mean,
of those people are there at that convention, and
right, right, and that's what I was gonna say. Like, whatever negativity is out there, like even if somebody went to one of the conventions as somebody who had like negative online,
yeah,
they're not gonna bring that to the, you know what I mean? They're not gonna bring that
right,
to the, because why? You know what I mean? Like you're just ruining it for yourself. Like it's not even about like why would you ruin that for other people? It's just like if you're gonna go with that attitude, why are you spending the money to go? Like if
right,
you want to go, go have fun,
yeah,
and put whatever complaints or disagreements or whatever you have aside, and then you can go back to that later when you get back online. Like,
yeah,
so yeah, I mean I don't think it like I think it'd be hard pressed to find somebody like to find a situation where you're at a convention and somebody's bringing that negativity with them. Like I haven't personally experienced it, but
Yeah. Um, just to go back and clarify, earlier you mentioned Tom being on set. Was Tom the one on set on the days you were there playing Michael, or did you see George there at all on set?
so let me. I don't know who I met
Okay.
because I met them when I shot the costume scene. They were
Yeah.
on set, and I met them. I didn't even know that Tom Morga was one of the Michaels until much later. So I always thought
Right.
it was George Wilbur. With that being said, like I said at the beginning, I wouldn't be surprised if I shot on day one.
Yeah.
I know that I shot like based on the timelines of because I shot the end of April, beginning of May is when I did my stuff. And I know Danielle celebrated her birthday on set, and her birthday's in June.
Okay.
So, and it's a 6 week shoot. So I don't see any way that you change that calendar.
Yeah.
That still puts Tom in my shooting schedule.
I
So
got you.
that's why
Yeah.
I'm pretty confident it was Tom Morgan that I worked with and that I saw doing the deleted scene and because I know like there's been questions about that about like who did the costume scene, who didn't.
Mhm.
If I had to put money on it, I would say it was Tom, and that's just based on the shooting days on the calendar.
Yeah. Well, I think that makes total sense because yeah, you can look back on that. You know the days roughly that you were shooting and the time of month and everything and being there, like you said, for Danielle's birthday, you know you had to have been there at least that long. So you can I think you're probably right. I mean, if yeah, because you were there right at the beginning, and that would have been Tom, right? He was in the beginning, and
Right.
then they brought in George, um, and of
Yeah,
course
I
you've
I, de
gotten
I definitely didn't shoot at the end of the movie. Like I definitely
yeah
shot at the beginning of the movie, and like I
at the
said, I
beginning,
I, I wouldn't be surprised if that bus scene was day one.
yeah.
Like, but again, I don't see how off of shooting days, and the days that I know I worked, I don't see how it could be anybody but Tom that was shooting those days.
And when you're there shooting, I mean, was he there like in the costume shop with you doing the mirror
He was
or?
no, so he was at the costume shop, but he
Hmm.
wasn't he wasn't dressed up. Like I don't think he might have had the overalls on, the coveralls on, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
I didn't meet him until I was leaving.
Okay.
So like when I was leaving, I met whoever the adult Michael was, and like I said, I'm pretty sure it was Tom. But it was pretty much like when I was walking out the door to go home.
Okay. And yeah, that I'm just curious. That makes total sense though. And of course you've gotten to know, or you got to know both of them over the years at conventions.
Right.
And of course we lost the great George Wilbur not too long ago, and we all miss him. And one of those illustrious individuals, like I always say, one of the men behind the mask. Um, and I put his picture up here, right? You can't see it right now. It's not really, it's too dark in here, but that's George right there. And I,
Yeah, I see
I
I
put
see
it
it.
up there tonight specifically for this interview because I just wanted a little bit of him to just be here giving us good
Yeah.
vibes tonight and as we're doing this.
Yeah,
Um,
George was great. George was so friendly.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Whenever
the
we,
last conversation I had with him, he was at age 40, and he was sitting next to me, but we didn't really engage that much. Um, but the last time I like engaged with him was at Chicago, actually. And
well, I've got a picture of that. Yeah. You tell that story. I'm gonna bring this picture up for the audience, but
um but yeah, like the last time like that we really spoke was I went downstairs to go get breakfast, and he was there at a table. So I'm like, I'm just gonna sit with George. Like they were sitting me, and George was just by himself. I'm like, oh, is it cool if I just sit there? And the wait staff's like, yeah, that's fine. So I just sat down and started talking to George. And Gina had I want to say Gina's his daughter, just for clarification on who Gina is. Um, Gina had her kid, and I think she was like 1 or 2 years old at this point. And so I sat down, and he was just like, he pulled out his cell phone, he's like, "Look at this," and just like started like showing off his grandkid to me, and he's just like so stoked on this child. He's just like, "Look how beautiful she is," and that's pretty much like the last like real conversation I had with him, other than like in passing and hanging out at the Halloween after parties and stuff like that. But like the last like chit chat that we had
Right.
was having breakfast, and then
that's cool.
And then the other, I think Dick Warlock was Dick Warlock there that weekend
at the 2015, yeah, or
yeah
the
at
yeah.
Chicago.
Yeah, he was.
I thought so. And then he came and joined us, and him and his wife. And then we all just kind of had breakfast together. But before they all showed up, it was just me and George was just like, again, like I said, like just going through his phone and showing off all these baby pictures of his grandkid.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, he was always just really nice and cool whenever we got to talk to him at a convention. One of the few that wouldn't go on record with me, though. He must have had a bad experience with a reporter somewhere along the way. He was always very kind to talk and would be the kindest, but whenever I had one of these, like, no, not on the record, not on the record. I'm like, all right, no worries, no big deal. But one of the few that wouldn't go on the record with me. But now we mentioned Dick Warlock, so I'm going to pull this picture up while we're doing this, and I've got this is from 2015 of you with Don Shanks and Dick Warlock, and they're holding you. It's the one I sent you.
Right.
And I don't know if you remember that moment happening. I don't even know the circumstances of it. I just know I was in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
And when I see something like that happening, I just start clicking and
yeah, I don't like. I remember it happening, but I don't remember why. Like I don't remember like what the catalyst was for that. It was obviously Dawn. Dawn was obviously the one doing it, right?
Yeah.
Because Dick's not the one lifting me up. Dick is just kind of
he's jumping in the shot.
Yeah, he's supporting, right? Yeah. But it's definitely Dawn that's lifting me up. But I don't remember like why. You know, if you asked me back then, I could have told you. But we're talking about 9 years ago.
It might have just been that they saw me with the camera and Don wanted to. I seem to recall he was doing a lot of that type stuff that weekend, just picking guests up,
just picking people up,
stuff, and yeah, just picking them up and working out by picking people up, I guess. But yeah, that's just one of my favorite just moments of Michael Myers' crew there. Piece of Halloween history that not everybody. I don't know. Not everybody gets to witness that stuff. And Sue and I talk about it all the time. That man, we do this out of love and passion because we love it and we love you guys and everything. And then I'll dig out some stuff like that. Like, remember when we did this? Like, not everybody knows. And I always think that once we publish something, that it's out there for the world and everybody knows about it. And I always forget that not everybody sees everything right at the time. And then a decade or so goes by and some of these audience members are probably like, oh man, I've never seen that. I had no idea. So, definitely good times there. All right, I'm going to take some audience questions in a minute, but I've got two other things that I just got to ask you about that have been in the news recently about this franchise. The first one is pretty recently. I think it was in January, actually. Dwight Little did an interview with Bloody Disgusting, and he talked about, I guess he's got a memoir coming out, which is awesome, and we're going to have to pick up. But he talked about this idea of a sequel or a requel, as it were, to Halloween 4. And according to him, he even pitched the idea to Malik at some point, and he'd love to do it. And of course, I know Danielle has said, I mean, she told me when I asked her point blank back in 2021 here if she'd ever want to come back or play Jamie again, and she said she'd be down for it and has said it numerous times since. And who knows what they're going to do or if this will ever happen. But did you read these comments from Dwight, I guess is my first question. And if so, what are your thoughts on any of that, on the idea of continuing the Halloween 4 story? And I imagine it would probably be along the lines of maybe ignoring the H5, H6 story. I don't know. But
it would have to, right?
Yeah.
Because if Rachel's going to be in it, then you have to ignore Halloween 5.
What Dwight's talking about, you'd have to. Yeah. It'd be a requel. Yeah.
Well, one, do I get to be in it?
Well, that's what I was going at too. I was like,
because I mean, like, if I can't be in it, then what's the point?
What's the point?
What's the point?
I mean, if they were going to continue, and I mean, you've got Danielle and Ellie, they're at the perfect age that their characters would be. I mean, we do know a certain actor who would be the perfect age for that, but anyway.
My thoughts on this are Dwight and Alan, I think, work great together.
Yeah.
And I don't think that Dwight and Alan would pitch something that they didn't think would be successful.
Yeah.
So do I see it happening? I doubt it. Not because it shouldn't happen. Like I said, I think Dwight and Alan would be very, very capable of pulling that off. I mean, they pretty much resurrected the Halloween franchise, let's be honest,
it's
right?
True.
With Halloween 4. And the thing with Halloween as a franchise is that they've always played with the timeline. So there's nothing that's stopping, like, for them to go back and be like, you know what, we're just going to make a sequel to Halloween 4. That's not out of the blue for the Halloween franchise. Like, you know what I mean? There's diagrams that explain the Halloween franchise at this point.
Yeah.
So would I like to see it? Sure. I mean, I don't know much more than what I read in that Blake Disgusting article where he talked about, you know, Ellie and Rachel, or Jamie and Rachel, are living out on the East Coast now, and that's pretty much like all I got out of it.
Yeah.
But I assume that they have a flushed out story, right? And I'm sure that if Malik said, "Yeah, let's do that," Alan would sit down and pop that script out. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure that script is like just waiting for the moment to be able to take, you know, pen to paper.
Yeah.
So again, would I like to see it? Sure. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not. You know, not to disappoint fans, but I don't have a say in it. That's all up to Malik.
Right.
You know, and obviously whoever's dealing with the rights right now, I don't think Universal has the rights anymore, because I think they just gave them to like Dimension or something again, right? So
Miramax, yeah.
Miramax.
Yeah.
So, you know, again, it's all up to, you know, the executives in charge, and the executive, not Malik, but the executives, and, you know, whoever Malik is working with, it's going to be up to them. And unfortunately, when you're talking about like studio heads, a lot of the time they're not creatives, you know, and so
it's true. Yeah.
They're gonna probably see something like that and be like, well, that's confusing. Why would we do that? Right. But it's just like, well, because that's what Halloween is. Like, the Halloween franchise is confusing, but but if you sit down and just watch, like, they're not that confusing if you know what you're watching. Like, if you know how to watch them, they're not confusing. But to the casual, they're gonna go, what's going on here, right?
And I think that's just going to be a thing that this franchise, and with the most recent films, I mean, I feel like they finally just leaned into it by having now a third movie with the title just Halloween. Again, no other franchise has the exact same title for 3 movies, but, you know, they've just leaned into this. We're going to do choose your own adventure, and we're going to, and so I've totally adopted it as like, yeah, this is just, it's a choose your own adventure franchise. There's like so many different combinations of ways you could watch it, and one way is to watch part 1, part 2, and part 4, and then just stop, and that's a pretty cool trilogy just in itself, like there, like you could do 1, 2, and H2O and stop, and that's its own thing. You could continue either one of them, and it becomes something else. You know, I mean, there's so many different ways, and I think with the last trilogy especially, they officially just leaned into that and said, yeah, we're the franchise that is going to break every rule every chance we get, and watch everybody copy us after this, and it's usually true. Whatever they do, you know, because this 2018 wasn't the first requel. I always say H2O is very much as much a requel as 2018 is. It's absolutely as much a requel. In a lot of ways, H4 was the first time they did a requel because they ignored Season of the Witch and
Right.
said, "Yeah, forget that one. We're continuing from H2."
Right.
So,
Right, and it's that thinking too that's kept Michael out of space.
yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
Well, I don't
when
know if you
you
were.
when you deal with like timeline, when you deal with like a linear timeline, you pretty much set these characters up to only go to space because like where else do you go,
Right.
right? And I think one of the reasons Michael's avoided that is because they're not like they being Malik, isn't afraid to, hit reset on the timeline and be like, okay, well, yeah, let's why not?
Mm-hmm.
Comic books do it. Why can't movies?
Yes. And that's what I always kind of liken it to, too, is comic books or comic book movies like Batman. I mean, yeah, we've seen Batman interpreted in comics, in TV, and in film so many different ways, and a lot of them are great, and I'm all for it. I have no
Right.
problem, whether same with Superman, Spider-Man, I Dracula, Frankenstein, same thing. So I feel like Michael's the same way. And I don't know if you probably weren't in Malika Akkad's panel at H45. I imagine you were probably busy at your table, but that was one of the things he said at his panel at H45 was he listed a couple of the ideas that he had to turn down over the years, and just some of the like you're saying, like basically he says that sometimes a big part of his job has been to say no to a lot of things that have come up that a lot of people thought were a great idea, and he had to just be like, yeah, no.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm sure. I mean, and let's be honest, Halloween's gonna make a lot of money, right? Like it doesn't like if you just wanted to make money, you could send Michael to space. People will pay it.
Yeah,
Michael's gotten to that point where people will pay to see Michael go to space. But do you want to see him go to space? Right? Like, and so it's good that Malik is turning down ideas
yeah,
because we don't want him like I mean I don't want him going to space anyway.
yeah.
I'm sure
Right.
maybe there's somebody in the comments right now that's just like, what are you talking about? I want to see him go to space, but I can't see the comments, so
Halloween on Mars or whatever. I don't know.
yeah, why
Maybe
not?
yeah, a couple thousand years in the future, a
Well, I mean,
Halloween colonization
Jason's
celebrates.
on Earth 2 now, right? Or New Earth, whatever
Yeah,
they called it at the end of Jason. So, I
yeah,
mean, why not? Why not send Michael to New Earth 2? And then we can finally get that
yeah,
Jason versus Michael
yeah.
crossover.
Out in space somewhere. Um, and then there's also been in the news. They kind of teased it at H45, and then in October, news did come out about the TV rights that Miramax and Trancas and have now worked out a deal where they have both the movie rights and the TV rights to this franchise with Miramax. And what the word was when that initial story came out was that they were planning an interconnected universe
Okay.
of TV and movies, and nobody really knows exactly what that means or what they mean, and I don't know if they know yet. There's a lot of speculation, a lot of guesses, and hypotheses. I've suggested on here, just to our crew here, our regular viewers, that I don't read too much into it other than I think they're going to make a TV series, and because it's Miramax, and I think part of the reason Malik went with them was because they already were working together on the movie side. I think they found it attractive, the idea that we can interconnect, we can do something in the TV market, and then maybe some of those characters are featured in a movie. Does that mean they're going to be the main characters? I mean, I don't know, but I want to just
Right.
again as a fan and just somebody who's been a part of this and watched it over the decades and seen the different reincarnations since 1988. I mean, you've seen it being reinvented as much as we have. Just knowing what little we know, which is very little, it's all speculation at this point. But what do you think of the idea of a Halloween TV series? Is there any hope or direction you'd personally like to see it go in? I mean, a lot of people would like to see an anthology, in which case I say, well, what kind? Do you do the like American Horror Story thing where it's a different thing every season, which could be
Right.
cool? Or do you do a creep show type thing where literally every episode is different? That could be cool. Does it always involve Michael, or maybe it doesn't at all, or just very little? I kind of think very little. And personally, I've said make it a Dr. Loomis show. Like that's my pitch is Dr. Loomis set during those 15 years in Smith's Grove, and just keep Michael in the corner in a quiet room. That's kind of
like a psychological detective story, like
kind of like a yeah, but more of like a insane asylum. And your case of the week it'd be a young Loomis story, basically.
Yeah, right.
Like an idealistic Loomis of I'm gonna fix this kid would be like episode 1, let's say at 63. I mean, this is just my idea of what I'd like to see personally. Of all the ideas out there, I'd love to see it focus on Loomis, and Michael's there, but maybe not the focus of every episode, and just kind of in the background until he's not. But always the recurring thing of, yeah, there's this kid down in, room 31 or whatever,
31. 31,
of course, right?
Of
It'd
course.
have to be room 31. And, I just can't crack him, and we could watch Loomis cracking all these other nutcases, but not this one kid. And
right.
So that'd be one way if they were going to go and continue it like a traditional series. But then again, a lot of people would like to see an anthology, in which case that I would think would be possible. They could do some kind of requel situations with existing storylines. And anyway, the possibilities are endless. What's your take on any of this?
My take is we don't know what we don't know. Right. There's so many places that they could explore, right? Like it could be when they talk about like the crossovers to the movies, like maybe it's something like the MCU where you got the TV shows and you got the movies and they interconnect, right?
Yeah.
It could be again an anthology, bring back the original idea of what Halloween was gonna be with Halloween 1 and then Halloween 3, and they just ignore Halloween 2 and see where they were going with that.
Mm-hmm.
My cat wants attention. um Loomis story, right? Like I don't know how to adapt Halloween into a TV series, but I'm not a writer. There are things that I would like to see, and maybe you could incorporate that into the TV show. I want to know, I would like to see at some point characters that knew Michael when he was a kid.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about Michael was 6 and he snapped. So ignoring Zombie's version of it, right? Because Zombie.
Yeah.
So if you look at like the John Carpenter version, where he comes from this middle class family, we assume everybody's stable, right? Mom and dad are still together. There's no indication that there's trouble at home.
Yeah.
And when you're 6 years old, you already have a best friend, for instance, right? And you don't start getting your memories until you're like 4 or 5. Like you don't really start retaining memories until you're like 4 or 5. And so the best friend that you have at 6, you probably don't even remember a time without that best friend.
Yeah.
So we never see characters that had that connection to Michael. Like we never see how it affects his classmates, his friends, his teachers. So it would be, I'm not saying that's what the TV show should be about. I'd just be interested to see these characters that had these connections to Michael and how it affected them in some way. Because we see how it affected like Tommy Doyle and Lindsay Wallace.
Mm-hmm.
But those were kids that were tormented by the 21-year-old Michael.
Right.
But what happened to Michael's school friends, right? That are the same age as him. Like, are they a mess?
Right.
Like how did that affect them? Like, like, so I think that there's a lot of interesting characters that could be looked at and developed. They don't have to be the star of the show, but there are characters that I think could be shown.
Yeah.
Right. And it kind of goes to like John Carpenter's original Halloween 4 idea, which was to be like, don't talk about them, we banned Halloween, like, because then you're seeing a movie that's like a story, I should say, where you see how that night, with Halloween 2 involved, obviously,
Yeah.
affected this small town in Illinois. Um, so again, expand on that, and how does it affect his classmates, his best friend, like, you know what I mean? Because like if I was six, then all my son, like my best friend when I was six, you know what I mean? Like I can't even imagine how that would affect me.
Yeah.
You know, I could tell you who my best friend was when I was six, and I could tell you I don't remember ever meeting that best friend. So that person was in my
Right.
life as like as long as I like as far as I'm concerned, that person has been in my life just as long as my mom and dad have been, because I don't remember
Yeah.
a time without, right? So I don't know. I mean, I don't know what you could do with the TV show, but there are characters that I think that they could, whether it's in the TV show or maybe whatever, if they're gonna make the TV show about Michael or Haddonfield and not
Hmm.
do an anthology like Tales from the Crypt or
Hmm.
Creep Show, um, then let's expand on, like, I'd like to see those characters. How did it affect them?
I think that'd be a great way to go. Like you said, there's a lot of room to be explored in there that still hadn't, believe it or not. But there is room in that mythology that a talented writer, like you said, could really get in there and play. On the other hand, the anthology idea could be fun. I mean, I could get into that too. Like even a episode to episode one, and then I've speculated here. I mean, wouldn't it be fun then if like we're on like a streaming, a Netflix or Max or whatever it is, and it's like a creep show type thing, and then we could start getting some legacy directors like Dwight Little to come in, and maybe it's a requel to H4, maybe it's not, maybe it's just something else, but kind of with some fun Easter eggs for all of us that
Right.
some fun actors that might have some fun cameos in there that we all recognize, or maybe it is a place
I'm
to
just saying, I'm
continue some of
available.
these storylines. In any case, it's going to be an interesting time seeing what they do with all this, and I can't wait personally, but
Yeah.
I like the idea that they can, like you said, kind of like the MCU, kind of have this TV universe tied into this larger cinematic universe, um and what all that means, who knows,
Yeah.
but I can't
We
wait to find out.
we don't know what we don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the only people who know is Malik and the executives and the executive producers that he's talking to. Right? That's
Well, I have faith that Malik's gonna turn down any crappy proposals as
yeah.
he's done
I
so
like I
far.
said,
So
like
I have faith.
if Malik was all about the money, we'd have Michael in space by now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's the best way to look at it. Like whether you like some of the movies or you don't, I think, again, just knowing, like, yeah, he could, again, there are people, I guarantee you he's getting calls
Oh yeah.
all the time and pitching ideas. And I guarantee, studios are constantly like, hey, we'll give you X amount of millions of dollars to let us adapt. I mean, the Universal trilogy that they just did made bank.
Yeah.
Like the first one was like what, $10 million and brought in like
Yeah.
90 million or something like that. Like everybody wants that because it's a guaranteed hit. It's like Star Wars. Like it doesn't matter what you make. You can make the worst Star Wars movie ever, and you're still gonna make a stupid amount of money on it.
Yeah.
And
Well.
so,
Yeah.
like he's obviously taking those calls. He's having serious conversations, and like he's whatever decisions he's making, he's obviously doing what he thinks is best for the franchise. Is the way that I look at it.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm wrong. You know what? Maybe the TV show is Michael in space. I don't know.
Maybe.
Malik doesn't tell me those conversations. So
Maybe we might all wake up tomorrow and that's the announcement.
right.
Halloween 3034 in
Yeah,
space.
on the ISS.
Right.
Michael on the ISS.
Hey, I'm gonna watch it no matter what. I
But
mean,
that's
I'll
my
give it a
point, right?
chance.
Like, yeah, you'll
I'm gonna
watch it. If he's in space, you'll watch it.
I'm gonna be there.
We all
I'm
will.
gonna
We
be there. It
all
wouldn't be
will.
my first choice of where to go, but hey, if he's approving it, then maybe there's something there. I don't know. But, All right. Let's take some viewer questions
Okay.
before it gets any later, man. If you don't
Well,
mind, if you
it's
have,
late for you. It's not late for me. I'm in Los Angeles.
that's true. It's yeah, it just crossed over into Tuesday morning for us out here on the East Coast, but it's always Michael Myers Monday here, like it's always Halloween here. So let me see. I'm gonna let's see. We did get a couple super chats. Well, Lee the Machine Bowers dropped a super chat. Says Halloween 4 is my favorite. Perfect atmosphere. Happy Michael Myers Monday. Okay, well, not a question, but yes, Lee, it does
I
have some of
agree.
the best atmosphere.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I mean I don't remember the cinematographer's name on Halloween 4, and I feel bad for that. But yeah, they him and Dwight definitely captured, because we shot that in the springtime. Like I said, we shot that in
that
April, May, June.
that is
Um,
amazing, especially considering that opening credits sequence.
yeah, all those farms. I mean, and especially in the 80s, like finding farms that like outside of Salt Lake City was easy because, Utah's a very farmer state. Not
Yeah,
like, it's not like the Midwest by any means or Nebraska or anything like that, but there's a lot of farms, or at least there were in the 80s. But again, you're still talking about springtime colors versus autumn colors and springtime bloom versus autumn
yeah.
hibernation-esque state, right? I don't know what the technical scientific term is for when trees and plants start to go into winter sleep, but they're not the same colors,
Yeah.
right? And they captured them. So,
Yeah, and everybody always talks about that. The opening credits of that film is one of the best opening credits sequences in
oh, it's
all of
fantastic.
all the films. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
it's
just so.
fantastic.
Let's see here. Is another super chat from Kiss My Flapjack? Eric says Eric has been a great guest. This will be an odd question, but Eric will get it. Okay, this is good. I get it. What
Okay.
kind of Oreos do you think Michael Myers prefers? I was thinking I should ask an Oreos question. I know you have an affinity for Oreos. This is a good one. Yeah. What kind of Oreos do you think Michael Myers prefers?
Um, Flapjack, obviously the pumpkin spice,
It's got to be. Yeah.
obviously. And those are my favorite ones too, so it just kind of works in my favor, right?
Well, yeah. There's no surprise there. So those are your favorites that you of all the
Yeah, those
Oreos.
are my favorite of all, but unfortunately they're limited edition
Mm-hmm.
and they only come out at Halloween time. And there was a few years there that they weren't bringing them back at all. And there was like a ton of like there was actually like a ton of people online that were like tweeting at Oreo and be like, "When are you bringing them back?" So they finally did. They finally brought them back like 2 years ago.
Well, thank
But yeah,
God. I
I
mean, there's
stocked up on
pumpkin
it. Like,
spice everything else.
yeah, I stocked
So
up on them. Like this is like, oh no, like I literally had like 12, 12 of them, like 12 cases of them. I'm like, I still have some in my freezer because I'm like,
I was gonna
okay,
say, do you try to ration them throughout the
yeah.
year until
Well,
they're
during
re-released?
October you eat a lot of them.
Yeah, sure.
And then like the rest, you're like, oh, I guess I gotta,
Try
I
to
guess I gotta like avoid diabetes or something.
try to anyways as
Yeah,
best we can.
but right now is girl like so. There's always like things that can distract me, right? So like right now is Girl Scout season, so it's like, well, I got these Girl Scout cookies, so I don't need to eat the Oreos, you
Right.
know. And then there's
Yeah.
always like the holiday Reese's, the holiday Reese's peanut butter cups.
Oh
Like the
yeah.
Easter ones are going to be coming out soon. So if I have the Reese's peanut butter cups, then well, then I don't have to eat the Oreos. So
Yeah.
that how do I ration? Well, I just substitute it with other sugary treats that I shouldn't be eating.
And this actually lends well to another question that I should have asked earlier, but we always try to ask everybody what your favorite Halloween candy is,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll couple that with our other Halloween question we always try to ask: your favorite Halloween costume that you've ever worn.
So best Halloween candy is always Reese's peanut butter cups. Um, Growing up, they didn't have the ghosts like they do now, right? So like when I was a kid, the only time you got the specialty peanut butter cups was Easter time for
Yeah,
the Easter eggs.
that's right.
And then I think they realized like, oh, people like this ratio. We should probably do this more.
Hmm.
And then we got the Christmas trees, and we got the ghost Oreos, and we get the Valentine hearts, and but at the time, growing up, trick-or-treating, it was just regular Reese's peanut butter cups. There was no Halloween candy other than like
Right.
fun size.
That's right.
And then I guess maybe Snickers is second, but like, you know, everything is so mid after Reese's peanut butter cups, right? So it's just like, here's peanut butter cups, they're the best, and then I guess I'll eat this if there's nothing else.
Right. If there's no reasons, right.
Yeah, then it's just like, I guess, but it's always like, okay, like you go trick or treating and you immediately be like, "Where's the Reese's?" You just pull all those out first, you're like,
Yeah.
hoard them.
Awesome. Well, I love that pick.
And then favorite Halloween oh, I don't know. I didn't do like as a horror kid, I didn't really do like a lot of scary costumes. I was never like really dressing up as like any like Dracula or anything like that. Probably I guess I got two. I'll give you two. But one would be like I was obsessed when the 1989 Batman came out. I was obsessed with Batman.
Me too.
So my mom she made me a Batman costume, but she got at the time, the only like fabric pattern you could get was for the 66 Batman. But then she just
Okay.
substituted the color so it was black. So I had the black Batman costume
Yeah.
made out of the 66 costume. Then the last costume I ever did when went trick-or-treating was when I was like 14. And I taped shoes to my knees, and then I got an old bed sheet and I just cut out holes. So it's just like the typical ghost. So then I go trick-or-treating, I kneel down on my knees. So I look small. And then I get my candy, then I'd stand up and walk away.
You probably freaked out a couple parents. Like who's this
No, it
ghost
was more like
rising?
it wasn't freaked out, it was more like
Are you
what?
too? Yeah.
Like what? But you know what? I wanted candy. And I was 14 and I wasn't ready to give that up. So I had to be like, how can I get candy as a 14-year-old? And I said, all right, I'll tape shoes to my knees and just cut holes in a bed sheet and go around as the typical like Charlie Brown ghost,
Hmm.
and then make it a point to let them know they just gave candy to a teenager after I got my candy, not before.
Right.
Yeah. Because if you do it before, you're not going to get the candy. The
Yeah.
goal is the goal is the candy.
Of course. Of
Yeah.
course. Yeah. If they see this, yeah, a fully grown ghost, then yeah.
Well, 14, you're not fully grown up, but yes,
Well, I
you're
guess
much taller than a 6-year-old.
yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Do you get a lot of trick or treaters where you live now, and do you get a lot of Michael Myers trick or treaters during Halloween
No,
season?
no. Like, so where I live now, like, I'm in Los Angeles, so it's not really a trick or treat city anyway. We're very like apartment heavy. But even when I lived in Salt Lake before I moved to LA, um, I had a house up there in the neighborhood I grew up in.
Hmm.
And the last couple of years I was there, people weren't trick or treating anymore. And that's what I was saying earlier. Like, they don't go trick or treating at night anymore. They go like trunk or treating at the mall, right?
Yeah.
They go to the mall where everybody's like pops their trunk and they get candy out of their trunks or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. So no, like the last couple of years I was in Salt Lake, I would always buy candy, Reese's, because I knew
Yeah.
anything that wasn't given out was gonna stay with me,
Right.
right? Because I'm thinking here.
Hmm.
But no, I would buy candy with the intention of handing it out, knowing that I might not hand it all out. But like I wasn't buying like, it's not like I was buying like $100 worth of peanut butter cups. I could be like, oh, I didn't hand them all out. It sucks to be, like, but I would buy like, an amount that I think that I could realistically give out, and I'd give out maybe half of it. Um,
Hmm.
So I don't know. Like I don't know. But like I go to South Pasadena pretty much every year now, over
Nice.
by the Myers house.
Yep.
In that neighborhood, over where like the library is, over by the Mustafa Cod bench
Yeah.
and the Laurie Strode house.
Hmm.
That whole neighborhood, if you're ever here on Halloween, go there. Chat, go there.
Yeah.
They close off the streets from traffic, and it's just trick-or-treaters everywhere. And it's at night, so it's not this 5 p.m. before
It's
dinner
actually
nonsense.
dark.
It's at night. Yeah, and the entire town, that entire area just embraces Halloween. And it's awesome. There's adults trick-or-treating. Like I've seen Justin Mabry down there a couple
Oh
of
man.
times from Trick or Treat
Yeah.
Studios, and he's trick-or-treating with, with his kids. And
Yep.
yeah, like adults are straight up like dressed up in trick-or-treating. It's not just like, okay, kids, go get your, go run up. Like, no, the adults are trick-or-treating too. It's
That's awesome.
awesome. It's awesome. Like, why would I go anywhere else? Like
Yeah.
in LA, like why would I go anywhere? Like even though like I'm not trick or treat, it's just like fun to walk around
Right.
and just see people like lined up, and there's like always like people dressed up like Michael Myers in front of the Myers house taking pictures. There's like always like a ton of them. And then Sugar Mint Gallery's usually open.
Hmm.
I don't know if you've been to Sugar Mint. But Sugar Mint Gallery is usually open too, so there's usually like a line of people going to Sugar Mint as well. And um, but yeah, so I'm never home on Halloween.
Yeah.
And when I am, like, one, I have a condo, right? Like, you can't, if you get into my building, I'm gonna be like, how did you get into my building? But two, like, my entire street's just apartments anyway.
Hmm.
So it sucks for kids that grow up here because they don't get to
Yeah.
experience like that trick or treating, because it's like you can't get into the buildings to go trick or treating, you
Right.
know. And I'm not going to leave my building door open so I can get trick or treaters because I don't want people in my building. Like
Yeah.
it's not the trick or treaters that I don't want in the building. It's LA. You don't want people in your like it's just a security thing. Like I don't live in the suburbs. I live in you know rental street city essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't get a ton of trick or treaters in our neighborhood either, but there is a neighborhood nearby that we go, and it's nothing like South Pasadena area, but
Right.
it's kind of our local version of that. But yeah, I think if I lived in LA, I'd go to the Myers House area on the
Yeah, I mean
31st. I think
it's
that'd be the thing to do.
yeah, it's awesome. Like we went up there years ago. We went up there. We're just like, well, we have nothing to do. Like, no, let's just go, go visit the Myers house or something like that. Had no idea that like that South Pasadena is like that on Halloween. And we got there and we're like, what is this? Because like in LA, you always hear about like West Hollywood for Halloween. Like everybody goes to West Hollywood for Halloween.
Yeah. Hmm.
And it's, I've never gone because it's just like it's a nightmare. Like it's like a mile of road is basically, blocked off, and West Hollywood parking sucks anyway. You're not gonna find any parking on in West Hollywood on Halloween night when they're blocking off a mile of road. So like I never
Right.
go down there because it's just like so like it's just like it doesn't sound fun. Like it doesn't sound like fun to go spend an hour trying to find a parking spot.
Right.
Um, but you never hear about South Pasadena. Halloween Daily News exclusive, South Pasadena on Halloween.
Yeah, that I mean, it sounds like the place to be for sure.
It really is. Like it has nothing to do with being like, oh, I want to be at the Myers house on Halloween. Like, no, like that
That's
entire
the
area just embraces the holiday.
I love it.
And
I love it.
a couple of them like turn like small like their driveways into like small haunted houses. There was one house that they used to do a haunted house, like a small haunted house. They like cover their driveway, so you go up like their walkway, then go into their driveway and exit out the driveway. And it got so big that they actually down the street from them was a playhouse, and for a couple of years they were renting out the playhouse, and they actually turned it into an actual haunted house
Oh wow.
because that's how big it got. They don't do that anymore. Now it's back to their small driveway haunted house. But
Hmm.
for a couple of years they got so big and so popular that they had to expand. And then once they moved, obviously they had to start charging, but they weren't they don't charge
Yeah.
at their house driveway haunted house, but
That's awesome.
yeah, it was awesome.
That sounds magical to us. We got another question, another super chat from one of our illustrious channel members, Andromeda.
Hi,
She
Andromeda.
says, Eric, how did you think Halloween Ends was going to end? Were you rooting for Michael or Lori? And she says, love ya.
Love you too. The only obvious thing was that Michael had to die.
Yeah.
And with a movie, I honestly thought it was gonna be like they both died, is
Mm-hmm.
what I thought was gonna happen. I thought it was
Yeah.
gonna be like basically like they just stab each other to
Mm-hmm.
to death. Like that's what I was expecting.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't expecting like her to live and him to to die, but I was
Mm-hmm.
expecting them both to. But Michael was going to die one way or the other with the title of that, and
Yeah.
it was just obvious that Michael had to die.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was a trilogy. It wasn't set up like H2O where they're like, well, we want it to be open for more sequels, so you can't
Right.
really kill Michael. Like David Gordon Green wasn't doing anything past the 3 movies, so it's like you know it was like to me anyway. It was obvious that Michael was going to die one way or the other. I just thought that Lori was going to go down with him
Mm-hmm.
somehow, but obviously she didn't. She
Mm-hmm.
lived to write her book.
She did. She did, and to keep his mask nice and safe and sound with her
Oh, that's
now,
right.
right?
I forgot about that. Yeah, she kept the
Yeah,
mask.
yeah. That's that they got that last shot in there that it's at her house and she's got it, and evil doesn't die, just changes shape. So who knows? But um, another thing I thought of talking about haunted houses, and I was just curious. Did you get to go? Because I know you're out there in LA. Did you get to go to Horror Nights when they did the H4 house a few years ago?
Yeah, so Malik actually hooked me up with tickets to go.
Oh man, that's
So
awesome.
I hit up Malik when they announced that. I hit up Malik and I was just like, "Hey,
That's cool.
do you happen to have like hookups
Yeah.
for discount tickets?" Because I'm like I figured I'd hit you up before I spend full price. And he's like, he's like, I'll just send you 4 free tickets. Don't worry about it. He's like, I don't have any. Like, he's like, I would give you like the express pass, the VIP express, but hey, it's like I don't have any more of those. But
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, I'll just send you 4. So yeah,
That's cool.
I had the chance to go check it out.
That must have been fun.
It was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. They had a. I'm trying to think what was there that year. They had the Poltergeist house was really cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Poltergeist house was cool. Halloween 4 house was cool. From what I remember, like there was like the events though. This is me being critical, obviously. Like the events of the haunted house weren't in order.
The chronology of events
Yeah.
were out of order. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like him grabbing her from under the bed was later in the haunted house. I'm like, that's like the first thing that happens in the movie. Um, but it was cool.
Didn't
And
they
then
watch the movie?
right. Yeah, Poltergeist house was probably my favorite house that year. They did a Stranger Things house that
Mm-hmm.
year. That was cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then they did this classic Universal Monsters house that was really
Yeah.
cool. That Slash did the music for from Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
Um and that was really cool. The only thing I would have liked to have seen different in that is that it was all like I would have liked to have seen them do like black and white makeup and done it because it was literally like the original 1930s monsters, like the
Oh
original
yeah.
Frankenstein
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and Dracula. So I think that like I wish they would have embraced like the black and whiteness of it,
Oh yeah. That would have been cool.
but it was like all color, but it was cool. It was awesome seeing like Creature from the Black Lagoon and Frankenstein, Bride of
Oh, I
Frankenstein,
bet.
Dracula, and whatever. And then meanwhile, listening to Slash just rock out on his Les Paul. So
Awesome. Yeah, we went to Horror Nights for the first time when we were out there. Actually, when we were out there for H45, we were able
for
to come
45,
out a few
okay.
nights early, and we went
Oh yeah, because
to
I was
Horror Nights one of
I was
those
giving you
nights.
shit because you're at Universal and I was at Universal, and I'm
That's
like,
that's right. That's right.
Yeah, because I was down at Nintendo World, and I was like,
Yes.
and I think you were like on the tram or something
Yes. Yeah.
when I found that you were there.
Yep. 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 We had never been there, but it was awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was great. We were able to do the houses and everything. Um, let's see here. Let's see.
they
We got.
had
Mhm.
it this year, right? Was that the big haunted house this year?
Not it. They had The Exorcist.
Exorcist.
They did have a Stranger Things one. Evil Dead
Oh,
Rise.
Evil Dead Rise.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was last year, but
Yeah, they didn't have it this time. I'm trying. There were 8 in all.
yeah, it was probably the Exorcist that was the big one this year.
Yeah, it was cool. It was a
Yeah.
cool house. Let's see here. Uh, Flapjack says, "I thought Michael would awaken at the last second." Oh, talking about the end of um ends.
Oh, at the end of it, nah. I'm glad. I'm glad they didn't do that. Like I know a lot of
Like
people are like,
him
oh, I
reaching
wanted him to
out.
like reach out, or I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
nah. Like let's. I don't know. We get enough of like these like final jump scares. It's like let's. Like I was glad that they didn't do that. I was glad that they were just like, no, we're just gonna kill him.
Right.
We're gonna and boy, are they gonna kill him.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, again, I feel like, and like you said, it's called Halloween Ends. I
Yeah.
mean, it's kind of hard. Like, how else are they gonna end it? I mean, and and we all know. I mean, I don't think anybody thought it was like really the end of the franchise or the end of
No.
Michael. You know, it's the end of this chapter, this story, this David Gordon Green iteration. But yeah, I mean, it's you kind of gotta end it. And is it the best ending? I mean, I don't know, but I mean, it's pretty good. That meat grinder, you gotta admit. I mean, it's pretty good. How are they gonna put him back together after that? It's
Well, obviously, nanobot, not
well, there.
nanotech is gonna put him back together, and he's gonna go to space. We've seen this.
That's right. That's right. Yes. Rob Windsor, $5 super chat, but not even a question. Well, thank you, Rob. I appreciate it, man.
Rob, if you want to ask a question, you paid
Please,
for it.
please ask away. Yeah. But thank you for the super chat nonetheless. I mean, your support, guys, is awesome. Absolutely appreciate it, and appreciate everybody hanging out tonight, and yeah, putting up with all of my questions first, because of course I got to get first dibs. And sorry if it
I mean,
took
it
a
is
little
your
bit
channel,
longer,
so.
but yeah, I gotta get my stuff in first. You know, hopefully everybody enjoyed that. um, oh, and we can look at favorite kills too. Um, before we get out of here, do you have? Last week I announced that you were coming on, and
Okay.
we've been doing these poll questions each week. And I asked a few weeks ago, because I don't usually like ranking stuff. Like, I've never ranked my favorite movies in this franchise, because sometimes I feel like it depends on the day with some of them, like which one. And sometimes I feel like that with a lot of rankings. But like I ended up ranking my H2 kills the other week, and then I ranked my H3 because I was like, oh, what the hell, why not? You know, with the
Right.
caveat that they'll probably change in 5 minutes. So I asked everybody their H4 favorite kills in a poll last week,
Okay.
and we can look at the results if you want, while we're waiting for another question or two, and then I'll ask you yours. But first, let's look at these results. I'll try to pull it up here. Okay, so the options I put, YouTube lets you put up 5 choices in a poll,
Right.
and then I always say if your choice isn't there, you can write it in. But the
choices
choices the choices I wrote in was the ambulance attendant, the forehead kill at the beginning, the mechanic, Kelly Meeker,
Okay.
Brady, and Bucky, of course.
Right.
And so looking at the results here, the winner with 46% of the vote is, drum roll please, Kelly Meeker takes the win for
Interesting.
favorite kill out of these options. And let's see, the write-in. Okay, the write-in is for Brady. let's see. Bill Mincy says, I choose Brady because him and Rachel was trying to figure out how to escape out the house, but realized they were trapped in, and Jamie came out. Then Michael saw them and walking up the stairs to fight Brady. That whole scene was phenomenal. Seeing Michael walking up the stairs, he was trying to free Rachel and Jamie to get by. He knew he was going to die. That's why he did that. I got to give it to Billy here. He's got a good point about Brady. You know, I don't always give Brady a lot of credit in that movie. You know, not my favorite character in the movie, but he does have that redeeming death scene. And that's a good point. He does definitely sacrifice himself for the girls at that point.
Right.
But he did not come in first place. That was Kelly Meeker. In second place, with 21%, was the ambulance attendant, the forehead kill.
Okay.
Then Brady at third place. Then Bucky, which I kind of thought Bucky would rank higher. And then the mechanic in fifth place.
Okay.
So for me, personally, I'd probably go with the Kelly Meeker. I don't know. I do like the Bucky scene. It's comedic, but in a way, it's one of my favorites because it's just Michael just killing somebody he's not after, you know. And I always kind of like those one-off kills where it's like, and it's just a great scene. But I don't know if I got to pick a favorite. I don't know. The Kelly Meeker is so unique, and the whole impaled by a shotgun. Don't think I've seen that anywhere else. So Eric, I'll ask you: do you have a favorite kill from Halloween 4?
Well, the Kelly Meeker is a good one. And I think that was Tom's last day, right? Tom Morgan's last day was that kill.
Okay, interesting.
I like the Brady kill because it's the redeeming moment for who was otherwise a dirtbag.
Definitely.
But I'm gonna go with Bucky.
Yeah.
You know, because it's just I don't think it's the kill itself, it's the whole don't give me that Halloween shit.
Now, it's there are moments in this film and in a lot of the films that try to be funny and don't always. But that Bucky scene, that's funny. That's laugh out loud. And then on another level, it's Michael, like I said, just killing this guy brutally. This seemingly inconsequential character who's just mouthing off, and Michael's just like, which I love that too. I love when he just kills somebody who he's not related to or he's not after. It's just somebody who just gets in the way of the shark, and he's just like, get out of my way.
Right. So but you guys also forgot is it Earl? Like, you guys killed Earl.
Well, yes, there are some other kills. That's not, like I said, they only let me put 5 options in. But nobody
he wasn't even killed by Michael. He was just killed by a bunch of drunk rednecks.
Yes, but that's a kill. That's a kill in the movie. Right. So it's eligible. That's true. It doesn't have to be a Michael Myers kill necessarily.
And also, there's no consequences. Like, notice there's no consequences for them doing that. Right. It's just like, oh, we killed them.
That's true. That's
Oops.
True. Yeah. We'll deal with that tomorrow morning.
November 1st. There is no tomorrow morning, though. Not for them.
Not for them. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
No, there's no tomorrow for them.
And I'll go ahead and say we've launched our next poll, which viewers can probably guess, keeping the theme going. And with Jeffrey from H5 going to be here next week, our new poll question for this week is, what is your favorite kill from Halloween 5? And again, I'm able to list 5 options. If your pick is not here, you can write it in. But the options I wrote in are Rachel, Mike, Spitz, Samantha, and Tina. So there you go, audience. Cast your vote. I guess I'll ask you that too, Eric, since you're here. Do you have a favorite kill from Halloween 5 out of those, or out of them all? Because there are the ones, like I said, that are not among these 5.
Halloween 5 kills. I kind of like the Samantha kill.
Yeah.
But there's also a kitty that was, it wasn't hurt, but it was just affected by the fact that, she
Oh
was
yeah.
killed in the farmhouse.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, I think that one, just because he uses the giant scythe, just
Yes.
and just, we can only imagine how brutal that is because they don't show it.
Right.
So we don't know, like, if he cut her in half, if he cuts the head off, if he cuts the arm off. We don't know. We just know it was brutal. And yeah, I'm gonna go with that one.
Yeah. That's definitely a good pick. I think that's going to be a popular one. And again, our friend Tamara Glenn, she's awesome in that scene. And it's right after Spitz gets it, right when they're in the middle of their moment
Right.
there, their lovemaking, as it were. And that's a pretty brutal one there. And she's got his blood splattered all over her. And she picks up the pitchfork, which is cool. I like that she has that final moment right before her end of trying to fight back anyway.
Right.
And but yeah, that giant scythe that's what got to be one of Michael's best weapons
Right.
ever, maybe. Like definitely one of the top using that, I think. All right. Let's see. I saw a couple other questions come in here. Let me scroll back up. Let's see. Byron Weaver, another one of our regular viewers, he asks, who got the better redemption, Brady or Cameron? Do you remember Cameron in the recent movies? He's Allison's boyfriend, and
Oh,
he's kind of a Brady boyfriend in 2018. But then he
right.
kills. He spends a lot of that movie kind of redeeming himself before dying brutally in the scary.
Yeah, maybe Cameron just because he has like I mean, he's got an advantage with the fact that he's got an entire movie to redeem himself, right?
that's
Um,
that's true.
so he wins, but it's an unfair advantage,
Yes.
right? Like, because if he had died in Halloween 2018, you know, um, then you wouldn't have had that entire redemption. Like, it would have just been like I don't know, maybe he finds his friend piked on the.
Yeah.
And then Michael kills him too, and then be like, it was redeeming that he found his friend and was sad that his friend, I don't know.
Yeah.
So he wins by default, but he had an entire movie
They
to
did.
redeem himself. So I don't know. Take that with whatever weight you want to give it, because it's also an unfair advantage.
Two steps.
Yeah, I mean, but with that being said, because Brady didn't have as long to redeem himself, maybe Brady's more, because he didn't have that character arc. It was like a last minute decision, like I've been a dirtbag, I'm gonna redeem myself right now. Where
That's a good
Cameron's
point.
like, I'm a dirtbag, I've got 90 minutes to not be. So,
It's a
you
good
know what?
point.
I changed my mind, Brady.
There you go. Good point. Good point. Let's see. Jennifer Delaney asks, Eric, what was it like wearing the clown costume? And then she also adds, you looked amazing.
Thank you. That's a good question, actually. So when they put the bloody one on me, I wasn't allowed to touch it because it's the same one that Danielle. So Danielle and I shared the same costumes, just so
Oh,
everybody
wow.
knew.
I
Like,
didn't
yeah.
even.
So there was one clean costume, one dirty costume. I wore both. Danielle wore both.
Cool.
So I wasn't allowed to touch it. So like when they were putting it on, they're like, don't touch it. So like at first they like put it on as kind of like crooked, so I had to tell them. Like I started to reach for it, and they're like, no, because if I damaged it, they didn't have another one.
Yeah.
What I do remember was when they put the mask on, because I didn't wear the mask for the photo shoots,
Okay.
so I didn't have the experience of the mask. So when I put the mask on, that looked like when they put the in Halloween 1 and at the end of Halloween 4, when the camera has the mask on and you're seeing it through the eyes, it looks
Yeah.
exactly like that.
Yeah.
Which obviously it makes sense that it would look exactly like that. But that was my immediate when I saw Halloween 4 in the theater at the very end, that was actually like the first thing I thought of was that's exactly how it looked like when I wore the mask. Was like the vision that you get from the eyes. Exact same. Um so again, like I said, like other than that, like when I was 8, like you don't realize like how significant that clown costume is. So it's just like, if you'd be like, if I had to like do a Halloween movie today and I got to wear the coveralls, be a much different experience than 8-year-old Eric putting on, being put on a clown costume. So, but again, like the biggest thing is just the eye, like looking out of the mask and the vision being exactly the same as you see in the camera at the end of Halloween 4 and obviously the beginning of Halloween 1, even though they're different masks in Halloween 1, but same thing.
Very cool.
And the costume, if anybody's ever in LA, the clean costume is on display at the Hollywood Museum down on Hollywood and Highland.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I have to try to make a point to get over there next time we're out there. Let's see.
And they also have the adult Myers too. They have the dummy, like when they hit him with the car and it's clearly a dummy that they hit with the truck.
Oh yeah.
So that dummy, the dummy with the Myers costume is still on it. So Ken Horn, how it happened. So Ken Horn was our I can't remember what his position was on our film, but Ken ended up being the person who managed the Hollywood Museum for a while. And so he had all of these props that were sent to him in accident. He wasn't supposed to have them. So they sent the dummy back to him and they left the costume on. And so he's like,
yeah.
And I can't remember how he got the clown costume. Like he told me, like I met him at Monster Palooza back in 2009. I want to say he was there.
Okay.
And I was talking to him. This is back when he lived here and he was managing. He was running the Hollywood Museum. He's not here anymore. He's in like Colorado or something, retired. But yeah, he was telling me the story how he got him, and the dummy was sent to him, and they forgot to take the costume off. And I think the clown costume, if I remember correctly, he just took it. But don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure on that. I'm sure it's on a documentary. I'm sure they probably talk about it on the Halloween 4 documentary that came with the box set. Because I know he was interviewed in it. So
awesome. Got another question from I Was a Teenage Werewolf, another one of our loyal viewers, part of the Triple M crew, I call them. She says, Eric, question, what's your favorite Michael Myers comic book? She means
comic book.
She says, mine will always be Night Dance, absolutely phenomenal.
So it's been a long time since I've read those. I think Night Dance was probably my favorite because that's the one that happens in the town next, right? In Wilsonville.
In Russellville, I think
Russellville, so, yeah. I think that was my favorite. Steph sent me all you Halloween fans are gonna be jealous about this. So Steph was writing, he wrote Night Dance as well, but he wrote Death of Laurie Strode 1 and 2, and the third one never got published.
Right.
I've read it.
You've read the third one.
The animation, like the pictures don't exist. So the drawings were never done, the animations were never done, but yes, I have read.
This is the series. It was called the first death of Laurie Strode. And there was going to be 3 issues, and they published 2, and then I don't know what happened. I don't remember exactly the details, but
from what I remember, the publisher went bankrupt or something before they could do the third one. Something like that. So the third one was never made. So
maybe one day it's another one of those unfinished Halloween storylines that maybe could be revisited someday. So you've read you've read the finished story. So does it pay off? Is it?
Again, it pays off. I don't remember what happens though.
Yeah.
I haven't.
But
read
it's
those.
It's a good.
Yeah, I mean, and I know a lot of fans have read The Death of Laurie Strode 1 and 2, and they all want the third one, the third part, but yeah, I don't think you're ever gonna get it, unfortunately.
It'd be nice. Maybe some new Halloween comics though, or something. You know,
Yeah, I
I'm
mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know if that's like a Malik licensing thing. I don't know if you know what I mean. Like, I don't know how that whole world works because that's not the world that I live in. Um, like with the publisher going bankrupt, I don't know if that releases the rights back to Malik to be able to do that. Like, I have no
hmm,
idea. Like, I have no idea how any of that works. But I would
yeah,
like to see more comics. Like
I would too, and to me, the natural marriage of it, you know, because Carpenter and his wife, they have their own comic imprint, you know, Storm King
right.
Publishing, and they do their own. To me, that's a match made in Haddonfield right there. You know, I mean, if Malik's gonna license more comics, I would think
Yeah,
anything to do with this franchise, Carpenter should and will always be the first call he's going to make to be involved in some way. I would think, as long as you know that's an option. So if a comic were ever to happen. Another question from Mike Johnston. He is asking, Eric, what is your favorite movie in the Halloween franchise? Is it automatically four, or do you like the original better, or maybe even others in addition or other than the original?
well, so I think the original is just a masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would say Halloween 4, but not because I'm in it, right? Like even if I wasn't in it, I think Dwight and Alan really hit something with it. Um, but there's also Halloween 2, which again was the first connection that I had to the
Mm-hmm.
franchise that, as far as my memory, connected things. So I don't know. Halloween 1 for sure, then it's probably a toss up between 2 and 4, which I prefer more. Um, but again, 4, it's not because I'm biased by any means. It's just because it's a good movie. It
Yeah,
just is, in my opinion, it's just a good movie.
yeah, definitely. Another question from Teen Wolf asking, would you like to return to the franchise on screen as a different character? Maybe like a Stan Lee style cameo?
Not as a Stan Lee camp, because like there has to be a rep, like people have to get it. You know what I mean? And I'm not Stan Lee. You know what I mean? Yeah, I would if I had the opportunity. I was actually so Resurrection was originally going to be filmed in Salt Lake as well. And me and my agent at the time were waiting for the casting notice to come into Salt Lake. So I was trying to get onto Resurrection.
Oh, cool.
Um, but last minute they pulled and they went to Vancouver instead, and so I never had that
Ah,
opportunity. So yeah, I would like to, you know, um, but that's, unfortunately that's not up to me. Like, but if there's any casting directors out there that are casting for the new Halloween TV series or potential movie down the road, I'm here.
there we go. There we
If
go.
if you want me to reprise as young Michael, I can do it.
Yeah.
I, I might have to shave, but I can do that.
You don't mind shaving to
No,
to
if you want me to put, yeah, I mean, I'd have to put my shoes on my knees again and
right.
do that whole thing. But
Well,
yeah,
you did it for the ghost costume,
yeah,
so I think you could pull it off.
yeah. If somebody wants me to reprise my role, I will. I'm not opposed to either reprising or playing a new character, whichever. But yeah, I would like to go back to Haddonfield if given the chance, I would totally jump on it. And like I said, I was trying to back in 2001, 2002, but the opportunity ended up flying away to a different country.
To a different country. That's right. They did. They shot that one up in Canada, didn't they?
Yeah.
Let's see. Byron has another question. Eric, what was your favorite version of Allison from the last three Halloween movies? I think what he's meaning is, I guess you understand what he means. I mean, Allison kind of goes through transformations in each movie. She's
Yeah, I mean, probably the second one.
kills.
In Kills.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just because like at that point she gets it, right?
Yeah.
Because at that point, it's not her crazy grandma. Like at that point, she understands her grandma.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'd say probably the kills version.
Hmm. Very cool. Yeah, I enjoyed Kills a lot. I mean, I liked all three of the recent ones, but there's just something about Halloween Kills. I mean, it's just like I don't know. I get a lot of enjoyment out of that one, and then bringing back so many of the legacy characters, and I just thought that was a lot of fun. And yeah, I agree. I think Allison kind of at that point when she's like with Cameron, ready to go hunt down the shape and everything. Um, yeah, she kind of gets it at that point. Let's see if we got any others. I'm sure I probably missed some earlier, but
Did we ever get a question from that person who gave you money for no reason?
Rob, I don't.
He just gave you $5 and
Yeah,
ducked out. He's like, here's
he
some
just
money,
did the
bye.
yeah he did the $5 super chat.
And ran off.
I mean, well, he's still in here,
Oh,
Rob. Yeah, if you got a
he's still
question,
there.
man, fire away.
I mean, I just want you to get your
He
$5 worth.
says awesome guy, great interview. That was one of Rob's
Thank
comments.
you.
He says the book for ends goes so much further than the movie.
Oh,
Yeah,
I haven't read any of the books.
I do like that they did the novelizations for all three of these recent ones, and that they did allow the authors to put some extra stuff in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't read any of the books.
Let's see here. I'm gonna scroll back up. Mm, okay, here's one from Rob who paid
Okay.
that $5. He's asking, did Allison get the evil from Corey when they slept together? Like evil passed on to Allison or her kid, possibly? This is a theory that I've seen speculated on based on the ending of that movie, because they did have that one night together, and Laurie kind of
Right.
sees them go up the stairs, and um so that's a good question. Do you think the evil from Corey somehow passed into Allison and maybe into an offspring?
I mean, I haven't heard that theory before. I don't know. If I had to, if you, I would say no, but I don't want to, I don't want to rile up the masses.
That's
Um, I think I guess if they were going to expand that universe, then sure. But
yeah,
I think with it being Halloween ends, I think that the cycle is complete. I think it's done.
yeah. Andromeda has another question. She's just stating, could you tell us about Donald Pleasance? Do you have
I didn't.
memories of the great
No,
Donald
I did
Pleasance?
not meet Donald
Okay.
Pleasance. The people I met were again Tom.
Hmm.
I think Tom, but I'm pretty sure Tom.
Yeah.
Danielle and Kathleen. I remember meeting Kathleen Kenmont. I didn't meet Ellie or Sasha on set.
Okay.
They were probably, that day they might have been practicing kissing because they had like I know they've talked about how they had to go practice kissing so like it felt natural for,
Right.
and apparently like they were friends in high school or something. I know Sasha's talked about this in the past. I think they were like friends in high school or something. And so it's just like they had to like get used to, breaking that friendship barrier and.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the only people I remember meeting was Kathleen, and then obviously like Dwight. I remember, obviously because he told me what to do.
Right.
But yeah, those are the three actors that I met. I don't recall meeting any other actors other than like obviously the other extras that I worked with on day one and two when we did the bus scene and the Vincent scene,
Yes, the other.
the exterior scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so if you watch like the part in the Vincent scene, so if you guys don't know, the Vincent scene, there's two kids walking, and you got a kid walking by themselves, and then there's two more kids that walk in the back. I'm the kid walking by myself. And
Okay.
if you watch as I pass Vincent's, there's a gap, there's like a field between Vincent's and the next building over. That's
Mm-hmm.
where they had us seat, like that's where they had us sitting. So like all
Okay.
the extras are right there. So if you watch when I pass, you'll see that I look left. It's because I'm looking at the extras. I'm looking at the kids that are right there.
Oh, that's that's hilarious. See, there you go, guys. That's um. Oh, this is an interesting one. Sam Eichner, another one of our regular viewers, asks, "Did Eric audition for any other movies as a child actor?"
Um, yes, but I don't know what the movie was. I auditioned for a Disney movie, and yeah, that one's kind of weird to talk about. Well, it's weird because like at that point I was kind like my agent was becoming a parent,
Okay.
and I had a really close relationship with my agent, and so like I moved on to another agency, and it just didn't feel the same, right? This is kind of like when I started to take a step back.
Hmm.
But I was up for some Disney movie. I don't know. I don't know what I'd have to look and see what Disney movies were filmed back then to figure out which one it was.
Hmm.
And I had the call back, but I didn't want to like you know I just didn't want
Yeah.
to do it. Like I just wasn't like my heart wasn't in acting at that point.
Right.
Sadly. So yeah, I don't know what the movie was. I know that I was in the running, but ultimately I was just like I just don't, I'm not happy doing this right now. So and now here I am struggling to get back into the industry. It's just like, man, if only I could go back and tell a little 9-year old like just suck it up, but it didn't have the same feel.
Hmm.
Not having that relationship with the agent that I used to have.
Yeah.
Because like the agent that I had when I did Halloween was very much like I would go to the agency and like we would hug. Like I would be like, oh, whatever her name was,
Right.
and run up and hug her. And then like I said, she left to go become a mom. And after that it just felt very like business. It just felt very like I
Right.
don't really know my agent. Um, with that being said, though, like one of my teachers at the new agency was oh my God, I feel horrible. I can't Debbie. Oh, I can't believe I can't think of her last name right now. She was the Goblin Queen in Troll 2.
Oh, okay.
And she just passed recently from cancer.
Hmm.
But yeah, so I studied under her. I don't know if that's good or bad. But yeah, I studied under her right after she did Troll, so she was talking to us about Troll 2 and like how she just did that movie.
Wow. Interesting. Very cool. All right. I
And
think.
then yeah,
Yeah.
and then obviously as an adult I've auditioned for movies out here in LA, but not in Salt Lake.
Very cool. People are jealous that you read that third comment. Rob says, "Damn, I'm jealous. Now I'm always willing to read that comic, that third issue."
Oh, of Death of Laurie Strode.
Yes. Yeah. Some of
Hey,
the.
you know what? It's not what you know, it's who you know.
That's right. Well, I was about to wrap it up, but yeah, this might be a good one to. Andromeda is requesting if they can meet your cat.
I don't know where he is.
Okay.
Let me. I'll go look for him if you guys want.
Okay.
Yeah, give me a second.
I'm just asking their questions at this point.
I'll go check. I'll see if I
You've
can
been
find him.
extra generous with me, so I'm. All right. So he's gonna check on that. Byron asked, "Would I ever take it to consideration to review the last 3 Halloween novels on this awesome channel?" Yeah, I think that'd be fun.
People want to meet you. Alrighty, we got him.
All right.
So this is Bruce.
Bruce.
This is Bruce. I found
All
him under a
right.
truck when he was a kitten.
Oh,
And he's been with me ever since.
very cool. Excellent. There you go, everybody. Nice heartwarming cameo to to wrap the evening up, right?
Yeah, he's like, I'm done. Yeah, he looked like a bat when he was a kitten. So I named him Bruce after Bruce Wayne.
That's awesome. Very cool. Excellent. Yeah, now everybody's saying, "Hi, Bruce. Hi, Bruce."
Yeah, he's kind of the star of the show.
Gets all the attention, right?
Yeah. Like I stream on Twitch, and like I'm pretty sure that the people that come to watch me are just come to see Bruce.
You're just Bruce's human, right? That's
yeah. Like to the point where it's like I might have to set up like his own stream and just do Bruce streams where it's just like here's Bruce just chilling on the floor. Enjoy his presence.
And watch people by the thousands just flock just to watch him chill. Like you could probably just run live streams of that and dwarf all the rest of us easily. And
and
that's how it works sometimes.
He'll get cat condos and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cat fans and everything and cat chats and all the rest.
But yeah, he does tricks. He knows how to sit and give high fives and he plays fetch. I'm a dog person, so I had to kind of teach him to be a dog, I guess. I don't know.
Awesome. I love it. Very cool. Well, man, this has been great. We've gone way longer than I anticipated, but this has been totally awesome. And I know our viewers and our audience and our friends have had a great time because they're all saying what a great night it's been. And obviously, I mean, this has just been amazing for me and just hanging out and spending this time. And I can't thank you enough for being so generous with your evening. And even though it's not as late for you as it is for us out on the West Coast, but it's still getting a little bit late now. I think even on your end,
it's 10-ish.
You probably have things to do.
It's time to brush my teeth.
Yeah, you probably have some things to do and
give Bruce some treats and
yeah. Well, we're gonna let you get out of here, but again, thank you so much. We'll do it again sometime and have you back on, and we're gonna be doing more of these live streams with guests. I want to start having some panel guests sometimes, maybe multiple discussions, maybe do our own version of like some cast reunions, maybe if we can. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll just try to get more of our friends on here more often.
Yeah, for sure.
This has been awesome, and I always sign off, and it's always Halloween, so I never want to say goodbye. So instead, we always just say Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. And thanks again for having me. It's been fun.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you sincerely.
And thank you, chat. I can't read your chats, but thank you, chat, for listening to me ramble for 2 hours.
On behalf of the chat, yeah, they're all
they're all allowing me to show you my cat, because that's the most important thing.
Well, that was by special request. The cat was in demand. Like I Yeah, I think we might have both been getting thumbs down if it wasn't for Bruce. I don't know. Bruce
Worst
might have saved
interview
the whole thing
ever.
for us.
Worst interview ever.
Until Bruce came out, and then that saved it.
Until
right?
Bruce.
Right, Bruce saved the interview.
And then it's the best interview.
That's right. That's right. Well, I'm seeing the hearts flowing, hearts and pumpkins. That's what it's all about here. Hearts and pumpkins. So everybody's stoked. Yeah, we'll do it again. This has been great.
Okay. For sure. Chat, have a good night. Matt, have a good night. Get some sleep.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's about 1 a.m. here, so I'm gonna rest well this evening.
So it's the end of Halloween.
yeah, except it never ends.
The Halloween nights ended.
That's right.
Until tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. All right, man. You have a good evening.
You too. Thanks again. Have a good night and happy Halloween, everybody. And I will see you at age 50.
That's right.
Age 50.
It's going to be here before we know it.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to sign off. Then. Thanks again. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Eric.
Bye.
Man, wasn't that awesome, guys? What a fun evening, right? I mean, what a fun night. Like I said, I know there's some things we didn't get to that we normally do, but obviously, this takes precedent. I will do our shout outs for the evening real quick because I did queue up just a couple, and we do that every week, and then we're going to get out of here. But you guys have been amazing. This has been awesome. First up, let me pull it up over here. There we go. All right, so first up, real quick, we are jumping over to the platform formerly known as Twitter, now known as X, and this one comes from Halloweenverse, and I thought this was very fitting because this is a Halloween 4 and 5 promo that AMC ran, and I don't want to get a copyright, so I don't really want to play the audio, but they play this weird, listen to this audio. I've never, or I don't even remember hearing this, but it's this weird nursery rhyme that references the two films. It's pretty great. Something AMC did a few years ago, but really cool. Halloweenverse always sharing cool stuff. Now moving over to Instagram. This one is shared today by Trick or Treat Bakery Company. And I just love that cake. Orange and black. Made me hungry for some cake. Another one from Instagram from Behind the Mask Studios. A killer looking H2 replica there. And this one from our friend. She calls herself I Wish I Had You All Alone 23. She is a Laurie Strode cosplayer. Always turning out killer Laurie Strode cosplay photos every Michael Myers Monday. Longtime supporter of HDN. One more from Instagram. This is from our buddy Dag Farrick, another one of the clowns, one of the young Michael Myers actors and friends of ours. And one more shout out. This one is from good old TikTok, from an account called The Creepy and the Kooky. And I'll play a little bit of this. It's pretty kick-ass, this DVD holder that is the Myers house, essentially. And it holds all of his Halloween franchise DVDs. It's pretty badass. Pretty awesome. All right, guys. I see Some of you are signing out. I do appreciate you guys hanging out. This was an extra long edition. I didn't anticipate going quite this long, but it was a special night, and we had a lot of good stuff to talk about. And as you saw, Eric is great to talk to, a great conversationalist, and I had a blast. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I appreciate all of your comments and questions, your super chats. I appreciate all of that. To our members, once again, thank you. To our moderator, thank you for helping out, David. I appreciate that. Jennifer is saying good night. Have a good evening, City Kitty. Happy Halloween. Sam, thank you as well. Curious why Eric was uncredited. We'll have to ask him next time. That's a good question. Rob, thank you, sir. Thank you for being a member and for your super chats. I appreciate it. Eric was a great interview and really nice guy. Thank you. Excellent. Guys, this has been a blast. Make sure you tune in next week when our guest will be Jeffrey Landman. We'll talk all about his time in Haddonfield playing Billy in Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers, which celebrates its 35th birthday this year in 2024. So, very appropriate time to be talking to Jeffrey. Make sure you hit up our poll. Let us know your favorite kill from H5. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you liked what you saw here, hit the video with a like. And look for lots more Michael Myers content and so much more coming your way right here on the HDN YouTube channel. Michael Myers March has only just begun. This was an awesome kickoff. We got Jeffrey coming next week. More surprises to come. You're not going to want to miss any of it. I promise you. You guys rock. Till then, I'm Matt Arts for Halloween Daily News. Thank you all for watching. And happy Michael Myers Monday to you all. Love you guys. Good night.